right, Stan, sometimes it's about standing and walking tall. That's the order of the day today for Kansas State and Colorado. There's been an insurrection, an uprising in the Big 12 North Division. The Buffaloes and the Wildcats leading the way today. And welcome to ESPN2's College Football Prime Time, presented by GoDaddy.com on a windswept day here at Bill Snyder Family Stadium. The Colorado Buffaloes taking on the Kansas State Wildcats, a pivotal game for both these teams for various reasons. Here's a look at the standings in the Big 12 North Division. Kansas at 2-0, Colorado also at 2-0. Those two teams meet next week, 2 big weeks in a row for the Buffaloes. Meanwhile, Kansas State 1-1, coming off 2 emotional games in as many weeks. Hello, everybody. I'm Mark Jones, along with Bob Davies. Stacey Dale's joining us down in the field in just a few moments. Bob, it wasn't that long ago, less than 12 months ago, that the Big 12 North Division was really a punchline of a very bad football joke, but they've turned the beat around a little.
Mark, you're right. I mean, for the last several years, the Big 12 North has been beaten up in comparisons with the Big 12 South, but I think that's about to change. These two teams here tonight are perfect examples. They've already beaten Oklahoma and Texas from the Big 12 South. Missouri right now is ahead of Oklahoma tonight, so I think it's all about to change, Mark. But more important than all of that, this Big 12 North race is wide open now.
Yeah, obviously a little bit of swing in the balance of power in the two divisions. Today we get a chance to see 2 of the younger, more talented quarterbacks in the North Division. You look at Josh Freeman of Kansas State and Cody Hawkins, 2 guys that do it in different, contrasting ways.
I mean, both really good quarterbacks. You mentioned they're both really young. Cody Hawkins, just a freshman. And yeah, he is the son of the coach, Dan Hawkins. He's about 5'11", 185 pounds, a scrambler, a real feisty competitor, not your prototype drop-back quarterback. Now, Josh Freeman, on the other hand, 6'6", 250 pounds, will stand in the pocket. He's only a sophomore, and Mark, the advantage he has, Jordy Nelson, number 27, the wide receiver from Kansas State, maybe the best unknown wide receiver in this country.
4.35. Okay, folks, that's all we got to say. Meanwhile, boy, Kansas State, Stacey Dales, they have run the entire emotional gamut during the past couple of weeks. What's their state of mind like right now?
Well, Mark, you're absolutely right. You beat Texas 2 weeks ago, and then you lose to in-state rival Kansas this past weekend. So I asked the players, what's the mood been like? They said Monday was the best practice we've had all season long. And head coach Ron Prince said something interesting yesterday. He said, in all the games last year that were decided by 7 points or less, we won those games. This year, that hasn't been the case. He said the reason is because we have not executed and finished in 2 minutes. In the last 2 minutes of quarters, in the last 2 minutes of the game. So this week, all of the meetings have been focused upon 2-minute drills, 2-minute focus. They want execution, Mark, and they want precision today.
Contests have been decided by 10 points or less. At the end of this one, it's about placating the coach and then celebrating.
The best. Now you're being put to the test. Welcome to the Terror Dome. Now you're on your own. We will see who regulates and who gets to celebrate. I just wanna celebrate. I wanna celebrate. I just wanna celebrate.
ESPN's College Football Primetime. Brought to you by Disney Parks. We invite you to come live out Disney dreams like never before during the Year of a Million Dreams. Peak antifreeze. When you peak, you win. And ESPN Game Plan. See the most college football every Saturday. To order, call your pay-per-view provider.
Look at the state capitol building in Topeka, Kansas, aglow at night. Here across the plains and back at Bill Snyder Family Stadium. College football primetime presented by GoDaddy.com. Colorado against Kansas State. Colorado at 2-0. Kansas State at 1-1. The Wildcats have won the opening toss, electing to receive. Back deep, it's Byron Garvin along with James Johnson and Leon Patton for the Wildcats. Special teams going to be one of the prevailing themes in this game. Kansas State traditionally very good at it. At the 2-yard line, that's Patton. Patton breaking a couple of tackles and stopped finally up at the 22-yard line. Well, here's Kansas native head coach Ron Prince to introduce his Kansas State Wildcat offense presented by GoDaddy.com.
Josh Freeman's our quarterback. His favorite target is Jordy Nelson, a senior. James Johnson, important part of our offense with the running game, a running back, a senior. Watch out for Dion Murphy. No one loves Dion like Dion loves Dion. Big part of what we're doing. 3 critical offensive linemen for us. Spexarth, Veers, and Robinson. Be real important in what we're going to try to accomplish today.
Nobody loves Dion like Dion. He's been one of their valuable weapons, number 87. Freeman going the other way this time. And it's complete at the 27-yard line. Nice catch or pickup of 5 yards on the play. And now let's take a look at Colorado's Hall of Fame inductee and running back coach Darian Hagan to introduce the Buffalo defense.
Now it's on to our D-line. George Hippolyte and Brandon Nicholas, 2 of the best defensive tackles in our conference. They have really helped our defense stop the run. At linebacker, Jordan Dizon. If that guy doesn't win the Buckets Award, we're going to demand a recap. In our secondary, we got T. Reed and Ryan Walters. Ryan Walters, I played with his dad. He's dating myself.
Sure did. Nice run out beyond the 40-yard line. That was Johnson. And there's a flag down on the play, though, back at the 27-yard line. A pickup of 12 if it stands.
Offside on the defense. Penalty decline. First down.
Dan Hawkins, the head coach of Colorado, in his second year. Last year, his crew went 2-10. They've already surpassed last year's win total. 6-12 overall, 4-2 this season. He's always said, he'll tell anybody willing to listen that this program is going to pop. He doesn't know when, but when it does, he says, quote, it will roar.
They come in on a 3-game winning streak. You mentioned earlier, already upset Oklahoma in Boulder earlier in the year.
Freeman's not the type of guy that's going to run around and make a lot of yards, but he makes it out to the 44-yard line, picked up 5. Nicholas and Alonzo Barrett making the stop on the play for the Buffaloes. Josh Freeman last week had a pretty productive week, 305 yards passing. That was a career high against Kansas, albeit in a loss, but that troubling touchdown to interception ratio is the one that you look at, Bob.
Mark, you said it. That's the whole story. I mean, 22 interceptions in his career, 10 touchdowns. But this is a young guy. I mean, he's only a sophomore. And people watching tonight, you'll see he has all the tools to be a great quarterback.
On 2nd down and 6 for Kansas State. Under heat, and Freeman barely got it away in time. He was rocked. And the ball falls harmlessly at the 50-yard line. George Hippolyte got the hit on him. Hippolyte leading that Colorado Buffalo defense with 3 sacks this year.
Hippolyte, 86, makes a great move up front. Mel Kiper has him the number 4 defensive tackle in the entire country. 3 sacks on the season.
Had a chance to speak with him yesterday after their walkthrough. I asked him what he remembers about last year's game against Kansas State. He said, Mark, I remember Freeman going 22 of 26. He lit us up. 3rd down and 6 for Freeman in Kansas State. Nice move to elude traffic and into harm's way, incomplete at the 38-yard line. Pushki, the intended receiver. And it's incomplete. 4th down coming up for the Wildcats. They'll punt. But once again, Hippolyte applying a little bit of pressure on Josh Freeman.
Mark, something to keep in mind for Kansas State. Trevor Veers is the starting center tonight. They lost Jordan Bador, their best offensive lineman. And Kansas State not real strong inside at guard. So the interior of that Colorado defense should have a lot of success tonight.
Well, the punt comes down to the 22-yard line, where the Buffaloes will start 1st and 10. Here's former quarterback and 1990 national champ Darian Hagan introducing the Buffalo offense, presented by GoDaddy.com.
Our skill guys have really gotten better these last 3 games, be it Cody Hawkins, Scotty McKnight, Josh Smith, Dusty Sprague, Hugh Charles. Yeah, Hugh Charles passed me last week on our all-time rushing list. But hey, I got to play him anyway, my man. Now it's on to the big uglies. With the addition of Kai Maiava and Ryan Miller, they have really bolstered our group.
Got a couple of true freshmen starting up front, Bob.
That's almost unheard of in major college football, to have 2 true freshmen starting on the offensive line, and then a redshirt freshman quarterback in Cody Hawkins.
1st down and 10. They hand it off to the fullback, the first man through, and he busts one. Behrens with a nice gain out beyond the 44-yard line, brought down at the 45. A pickup of 24.
Yeah, Jake Behrens, number 41, just the old fullback belly play, Mark, and poor tackling up front by Kansas State. Those fullbacks don't get many carries. Behrens took advantage of his carry right there.
Bob, was that part of the game plan? I watched a lot of tape on them, and I can count on 3 fingers the number of times I've seen the fullback get the ball.
Well, I'll tell you this, Kansas is a 3-4 defense, Mark, and I do think you can run the football right at them.
That's what Hugh Charles is trying right here. Gains about 2.5 on the play. Here's Wildcats head coach Ron Prince introducing the Kansas State defense.
Our playmaking defensive lineman from the home of ESPN in Connecticut, Rob Jackson. At the linebacker level, Ian Campbell, our Black Lion Award winner and captain on defense. In the secondary, Chris Carney and Marcus Watts. Playmaking safeties. They'll need to have a big game today.
Mark, kind of an undersized, quick Kansas State defense. A lot of speed on that field, but not real big up front.
Looking at 2nd down and 7. Ellis now the tailback for the Buffaloes. Little play fake by Hawkins, looking up top on the post. And it's incomplete. He overshoots his intended receiver. Celestine, the intended receiver, he's one of the fastest guys on that offense. And Cody Hawkins has completed 58% of his passes so far in the season, 10 touchdown tosses against 9 interceptions. And Bob, you watch him play, undersized as you mentioned in the open, at about generously listed at 6 foot, but he can make some plays moving around, changing that pocket.
Yeah, and at times, just talking to the Colorado coaches, Mark, tries to make too many plays, tries to make too many things happen on every snap.
3rd down and 7 for the Buffaloes. Low snap. Hawkins grabs it, and he's almost brought down. And there's some of that playmaking ability, and it's incomplete at the 30-yard line. Good pressure up front applied by Rob Jackson, the 6'4 senior, and it's 4th down for the Buffaloes. They'll punt.
Mark, anytime the shotgun snap is on the ground, obviously all the timing is off, but you mentioned a feisty little playmaker right back here in Cody Hawkins, that able to keep Colorado from having the big negative play right there.
Well, Matt DiLallo will punt for Colorado. And Dion Murphy, one of the dangerous punt returners for Kansas State. They lead the nation in punt return yardage. This is a very high punt. Murphy calls for the fair catch at the 24-yard line. That's where Josh Freeman will start the Kansas State offense. A 29-yard punt. Nothing on the return under the lights in Manhattan, Kansas. We'll be back right after this. This ESPN2 telecast is available in astounding high definition on ESPN2 HD, presented by Pioneer Cool Road. On the field at Bill Snyder Family Stadium, Cody Hawkins on the phone with the people upstairs. Colorado had the ball for just 44 seconds on its last possession. 1st down and 10 for the Wildcats. 2 tight ends, 2 wideouts. The single back is James Johnson on 1st down and 10. And it's Johnson off tackle. stocked up right at the line of scrimmage. As we go back to Stan Verrett for SportsCenter in-game update.
All right, Mark, this Taco Bell studio update takes us to Norman, where Oklahoma started to pull away from Missouri. Chris Brown punched it in, his second touchdown of the game, and then Missouri with a critical mistake. Jeremy Macklin can't hang on to the ball. Somebody held up a sign at game day, said, Curtis Lofton's a man, he's number 40. Their take on Mike Gundy, and Lofton in with a touchdown there.
Well, Missouri had a nice little lead at one point. Johnson, and Freeman keeps it himself on the bootleg action. Freeman running and hit at the 27-yard line by Terrence Wheatley. He's the guy that can bring a little bit of knock. He's the leader in the secondary, the 5'10 senior.
Mark, you see big Josh Freeman. Josh Freeman's a guy that really likes to do things on the rhythm. He's a true drop back quarterback. But this time he gets flushed out of the pocket, and Terrence Wheatley, the corner, comes up. One thing Josh will learn, even at 6'6", don't jump at the moment of contact right there. I mean, he gave T. Wheatley a pretty good target.
Sets up a 3rd down and 6 now for Kansas State. Still haven't heard much from Jordy Nelson, their dangerous deep threat, their fastest receiver on the field. And Freeman sacked back at the 30-yard line by Alonzo Barrett. Had his first career interception last week in their game against Baylor, a 20-point victory, and it's 3 and out for Kansas State. They've been able to get a little bit of pressure on Freeman at quarterback.
Well, Mark, they have, and that's the question with Kansas State up front. I think their offensive line is the question mark on their football team.
Rayers punt, a high spiral all the way down to the 30-yard line, where it's fielded and a flag down at the 30 as well. Chase McBride, who comes into this game pretty much nicked up. He was a game-time decision.
Mark, it looks like Missouri is going to go down to Oklahoma tonight in Norman. So this game right here between Kansas State and Colorado, it is for the lead in the Big 12 North now.
Against the return team, number 27. The 10-yard penalty for the spot. First down.
Well, you talk about the race in the Big 12. Already a couple of big wins this year by Colorado. They defeated Oklahoma earlier, and Kansas State, Ron Prince's crew, defeating Texas. And then coming back last week and losing at home against Kansas, their in-state rival.
Yeah, Kansas' story kind of parallels the year in college football. You beat Texas in Austin one week, you come back the next week and you lose at home to Kansas. It's been that kind of year, Mark, in college football.
First down and 10. Each of these teams with a good opportunity here tonight. This is Charles running it between the tackles, and the pile moving out beyond the 25-yard line. Hugh Charles picks up 5 yards on the play. Last year, Colorado going 2-10, already at 4-2 so far this year. The points per game have more than doubled, and the yardage per game has been hugely increased as well.
Well, Dan Hawkins, you mentioned 2-10 last year. They lost their first game of the year in the Dan Hawkins era to Montana State, Mark, and it didn't get any better for them the rest of the year. But they've got it going in the right direction now.
This is number 20, Brian Rockridge. And he's brought down immediately by Justin Rowland. You'll see a bunch of backs carrying the ball for Colorado between Hugh Charles, Demetrius Sumler, Byron Ellis, and Brian Rockridge getting the call here.
And I mentioned not a very big defense. Watch Justin Rowland, the inside linebacker, Mark. That's a lick right there.
Delivered a nice blow, the 6', 245-pound senior. Hugh Charles back in the ball game for Colorado. 3rd down and 3. Hawkins looking to pass, and it's incomplete. Intended for Scotty McKnight. The walk-on couldn't get close to it. And it's 4th down coming up for the Buffaloes. In comes Matt DeLallo to punt.
Mark, you mentioned Kansas State special teams. The reason they beat Texas, a kickoff return for a touchdown, a punt return for a touchdown. The reason they lost to Kansas last week, did not have a big play in the kicking game. So 2 explosive returners back here with Deion Murphy, one of them for Kansas State.
That's Nelson standing at his own 26-yard line. Ron Prince patterned a lot of his program after Virginia Tech with respect to special teams, but they pop it up in the special teams game. Fumble, and the Wildcats lucky to get that ball back after the fumble. A 38-yard punt. Nothing on the return. The Wildcats with the ball on their own 31-yard line. Byron Garvin recovered the loose ball for Kansas State.
Mark Jalil Brown with a good lick knocking that football out of there.
ESPN's College Football Primetime is presented by GoDaddy.com, world's #1 .com provider. Make a .com name with us. And in part by Hyundai. Now there are more reasons to check out a new Hyundai. Visit HyundaiUSA.com.
Look at Varney's Bookstore. The largest shop in Aggieville was built in an old movie theater, as you can tell, and has been serving Kansas State since 1890. Varney's occupies nearly a half block of space at the intersection of Manhattan Avenue and Morrow Street.
In the Little Apple.
The Little Apple, but big things happening in the Little Apple. This is Johnson. All the way out to the 37-yard line. Great speed in the backfield. That's what he provides for them. Making his 11th consecutive start. Picked up 7 on the play. Brought down by Brad Jones.
Look, I don't know. This game is dead even. I mean, you look at these two defenses. Colorado is ranked 21st in the country in defense. Kansas State 22nd. On the flip side, Kansas State offense 68, Colorado offense 70. Should be a defensive game. Two good defenses against two average offenses.
On the outside, that's Nelson. Nelson, the speed burner, brought down at the 20-yard line. He was waiting to roar and make a little noise, and he let it all hang out there. He got in behind Benjamin Burney to pick up 43 yards. He's the guy that torched them last year on a 68-yard touchdown
Mark,
catch.
I'm a little surprised that Benjamin Burney is locked one-on-one on Jordy Nelson. Really pretty good job of coverage, but you would expect Terrence Wheatley, number 26. But I tell you what, that was really good coverage, but that was a great throw right there by Josh Freeman.
Jordy Nelson, the former high school track champion in the state of Kansas, ran a 10.56 as a senior in high school. This is Johnson, stopped on a dime, didn't leave any change for the Buffaloes. Down to the 11-yard line, but there's a flag down back at the 23. Johnson averaging 5.1 yards per rush.
Looks like we're going to get defensive holding up front, Mark. You don't see this called very often.
Certainly don't.
Holding on the defense, number 86. Half the distance from the end of the run, first down.
That's against George Hippolyte. Hippolyte and Brandon Nicholas, a key inside. Bob, you talked about the battle in the trenches. Colorado's bigs up front, Hippolyte and Nicholas against Unruh and Veers and Spexar.
What happens with defensive holding, Mark? You get the play and the penalty yardage with it. And Hippolyte that time trying to keep the center from going up under the linebacker on the second level. You don't
That is a rare one.
Very often.
From just outside the 5-yard line, first down and goal for Kansas State. Freeman gives it to Johnson, cutting back. Johnson scores. Touchdown, Wildcats.
Mark, just as I said, these were two average offenses. The fireworks began. Great cutback run right there by James Johnson.
James Johnson with his 6th rushing touchdown of the season, the 8th of his career. And Kansas State with the extra point to follow, leading 7-0 now. But when watching the tape of Kansas State, you don't see a lot of running plays, but they've proven here that they can get it done.
Well, we've seen a lot of number 27, Jordy Nelson, going deep, though, and we saw that on the play before the touchdown.
Wildcats leading 7-0 when we come back to Manhattan, Kansas.
Stan Verrett back here in the studio. Taking a look at the primetime pulse. There is some hitting going on in Arkansas right now, but not much scoring. 3-0. Auburn leading Arkansas, trying to avenge that loss last year where the Razorbacks ran all over them. And NASCAR's Bank of America 500 at Charlotte over on ABC. Clint Boyer in the lead right now, Mark.
All right, Stan, those guys running around the track like I've seen Stan getting home on 84 East, leaving the shop in Bristol. 7:29 to go in the first quarter. Four-play, 69-yard drive using 1:28 on the clock. And the Wildcats with the lead. This is Wheatley on the kickoff return and upended at the 22. Wheatley brought down. First down and 10 for the Buffaloes. They only had the ball for 44 seconds on one of their drives on their first one.
Big hit by Courtney Herndon, number 20 for Kansas State on that kickoff coverage.
Well, we talk about Cody Hawkins as we look back at that scoring drive. 4 plays, 69 yards, about a minute and a half on the clock. And Cody Hawkins now with the reins to the Colorado offense. Going back to his 6th grade football team through his senior year in high school, he was 59-0 as a starting quarterback. I don't care what level you're playing at, 4A, 6A, 1A. That's a pretty impressive record and nearly an impressive throw, but it's picked off at the 35. Justin McKinney still on his feet all the way down to the 29.
Mark, a poor decision by Cody Hawkins. I want you to watch the tight end right here. The tight end's going to get down the field, and he's going to be open. But instead, he tries to force the ball to the freshman, Josh Smith. Look at the tight end right now down the middle of the field. But he forced the ball into Josh Smith. An excellent interception by Justin McKinney, though, over the top.
His second interception of the season. And ironically, he's also their leading tackler.
Mark, I'm surprised he didn't see that tight end because that was a shorter, much easier throw down the middle of the football field.
And good field position now for Kansas State. Empty backfield. Jordy Nelson looking to pass it downfield, and he overshoots his intended receiver, Michael Pushki. Little trickery, a little prestidigitation for Kansas State. Nelson, I haven't seen any of him throwing the football in any of these games.
I got to tell you, he's already thrown 2 touchdown passes this year, Mark.
Okay.
So, I mean, I don't think it's a total surprise, but Ron Prince, a good situation right there to run that gimmick play. But, you know, they have 2 touchdown passes from Jordy Nelson, also a touchdown pass from Leon Patton, the tailback. So they have 3 guys other than the quarterback that have thrown touchdown passes.
Sub Patton's a little bit earlier. 7:02 to go in the first quarter. On the toss, this is the aforementioned Patton. And Patton's going to be stopped up at about the 32-yard line by a host of Buffaloes charging hard. Led by Brad Jones, number 40, the second-year starter. Picked up a yard on the play.
Well, keep your eye on number 40, Brad Jones, right here from the inside out. Excellent play.
Nose of the ball at the 28. Patton still the lone back. 3rd down and 8. Nelson to the top of your screen. Freeman comes back the other way. This is Patton on the move. And Patton is brought down to the 17-yard line, picking up enough for the first down. Dyson making the stop for the Buffaloes, but Patton picked up 12 in the process.
Anytime you're going to run those screens, you need blocks from your linemen. Gerard Spexarth, number 73, marked the right guard. Downfield that time, got an excellent block.
Move it down to the 16. Spexarth, Veers, and Unruh, the key guys in the middle on that offensive line for the Wildcats tonight. Freeman surveying the field. Finds his man down to the 6-yard line. That's Dion Murphy. Between Murphy and Nelson, you have a couple of bookend guys that can really fly.
And Dion Murphy, when Ron Prince introduced the starting lineup, he said nobody likes Dion as much as Dion likes Dion. But an explosive receiver, first-year playing, Mark, out of Coffeyville Community College. But this guy's a big-time talent right here.
Now, Kansas State is and was a program in the past that always had a good good feeder system of junior colleges and community colleges, and their head coach Ron Prince continuing that trend. He's gotten some talented players from around the country from various junior colleges. There's a bunch of them right here in state. 5:40 to go in the first. Patton knocks it up in there down to the 3-yard line. Dyson making the stop. Dyson, by the way, leads the nation in tackles.
Well, Dyson, an interesting guy, highly recruited, actually a running back from Hawaii. You know, his mom is an undercover narcotics agent in Hawaii, Mark. But this guy started since he's been a freshman at Colorado. We met him yesterday. Not very big, you know, not as big as you think he would be, but a great tackler.
Yeah, he was taking care of his guy, getting his guy George Hippolyte a little bit of hype, showing that the big guys occupy space, and he just makes the stops, doing his job. On 2nd and goal, it's Patton, and he stopped up at about the 3-yard line. Under 5 minutes to go here in the first quarter.
Should be difficult for Kansas State to run inside, Mark. Again, Hippolyte, Brandon Nicholas, the 2 big defensive tackles inside for Colorado. Both really talented players, and not a real stable center guard situation for Kansas State.
See how much it affects them here in the shadows of the goal line with 3rd and goal coming up. The deep back dotting the I. Into the end zone on the fade, and he overthrows Jordy Nelson. Incomplete. Never had a chance on it.
Well, that's the matchup we've been waiting to see. Terrence Wheatley lined up one-on-one, nose-on-nose with Jordy Nelson.
And Brooks Rossman going to come in and attempt the field goal now for Kansas State. Wheatley, a guy that has really endured a lot of adversity with various injuries. There's Rossman, who is 9 of 11 on the season. Kind of a sharp angle here. These ones can be a little bit tricky.
And it's always windy in the Little Apple here in Manhattan.
He's 4 for 4 from between 20 and 29 yards, and now 5 for 5 on that 20-yarder. And Kansas State out of the gate quickly, leading 10-0 with 4:06 to go. It was all set up by that interception by Justin McKinney. And Coach Hawkins' team finds themselves in a hole early here.
Well, a lot of times you play on the road. For instance, I'll give you an example. Dan Hawkins didn't even come with the team on the trip. He was in California recruiting. But the point I'm making is, when you play on the road late at night on a Saturday night, a lot of distractions, a lot of time elapsed for you all day around that hotel. Colorado not playing very well right now, particularly on offense. But how about this? You're the head coach. You could have flown in on the charter with the team that made things easy on yourself. It shows you the kind of work ethic and what you have to do to rebuild a program. This is California.
I was just going to say, Bob, there are scarce and few free moments for head coaches across the country.
Well, and you can see Dan Hawkins' recruiting already starting to pay off with a lot of young, skilled players on the field and 2 true freshman offensive linemen starting.
Charles Johnson, a former player for Colorado, he says that the young guys that Hawkins has recruited can really motor and fly on the kickoff return. An alley down the right side of the field. That's Wheatley with a nice return close to the 40-yard line. First down and 10 for the Buffaloes. And Chris Berman, folks, hosts NFL Sunday Countdown, presented by IBM on ESPN Sunday at 11 a.m. Eastern, with analysis from Michael Irvin, Tom Jackson, Ron Jaworski, Mike Ditka, and NFL insider Chris Mortensen. This week, Bill Parcells joins the crew on to provide his unique perspective on the Cowboys-Patriots game, plus all the news and latest updates from stadiums around the league right up to kickoff. And who you like, Bob? New England, Dallas.
Boy, I tell you, I love both of them. That Monday night game, Dallas and the Buffalo Bills, that may have been one of the best games I've ever seen.
Hugh Charles dotting the I, and here he is between the tackles. Hugh Charles puts his hat down and comes out of the mist in the clouds out to the 40-yard line. Ray Cheatham finally making the stop. They've talked to Hugh Charles about making contact and breaking tackles.
Well, I like him in the eye. Watch the fullback right here, Contrell. He's going to get an excellent lead block. And I really think, Mark, you can run downhill. Right there, an excellent block on 53, Reggie Walker. And I would run right at this 3-4 defense of Kansas State.
Yeah, you saw Charles break that tackle pound for pound. The strongest player on that Colorado roster. Ellis now in for him. Down to the 39-yard line, Demetrius Sumler. And for more on Hugh Charles, let's go to Stacy.
Now, Mark, we've talked to Colorado coaches about trying to get Hugh Charles to be more aggressive. And basically, offensive coordinator Mark Helfrich sat down. He told us with him and showed him clips of Walter Payton. Big blows from Emmitt Smith. They're trying. We talked about it today, Bob. He'd rather get out and run sprints and compete in the weight room than get out there and hit guys on the field. But he's definitely made strides this season, guys.
Yeah, you never like hearing somebody say he's a track guy if you're a football player.
Well, you know what they've said? He's made a lot of progress. We're going to get a chance to see it right here.
Yeah, he can motor, that's for sure. Charles close to a first down, brought down by Chris Patterson. But yes, he has shown the ability more so this year to kind of lower his hat and put it on people and get the extra yard or two.
Well, what happens, Mark? He's a workout warrior. You know, he benches 420 pounds, which is unbelievable. He's a great track athlete, particularly a great long jumper. Sometimes guys like that want to lift and get timed in the 40 and the distance in the long jump more than they want to play football. I think this guy has a shot to be an NFL player. Yeah. I like him.
There is no foul on the play. The block was legal.
It's funny you talk about guys that like to work out like that and can run fast. I remember Chuck Nolo was saying, yeah, guy looks good in his underwear, but I don't know if he can play.
But you know what? The thing about you, Charles, he had 110 yards against Oklahoma, and a lot of that in the second half, Mark. So I think he's turned a corner.
Kansas State has won 6 of the last 10 meetings between these two teams. I'm Mark Jones along with Bob Davie and Stacey Dales down to the field. A pivotal game here in the Big 12 North Division. Ellis in the backfield, Hawkins passing. And Hawkins got rid of it in time and incomplete at the 15-yard line. Patrick Williams looked like he might have been able to hang on to that ball.
Well, a lot of things happened on this play. First, you see Cody Hawkins. I wonder that football didn't get stripped out. But how about the linebacker Justin Rowland out here man-to-man coverage on Patrick Williams right there.
Trying to say it's a little bit of a mismatch?
Exactly. But you see where Cody Hawkins, Mark, I love him because he's feisty, but he almost tries to make every play a touchdown. There's a point where you better just tuck that ball away and protect it.
McKnight in motion, a little movement. On that left side of the line, Ryer Greer, number 87, the tight end.
On the offense, number 87. 5-yard penalty. Still second down.
Boy, Greer just struggling all around so far this year. Was injured against Arizona State. Suffered an MCL, a knee sprain of the ligament. And last year as a freshman, he actually set a school record at Colorado for receptions by a freshman, but still trying to get back up to speed coming off of that knee injury. And obviously his timing and cadence off a little bit.
You're being kind to him. But you know, he was actually a high school quarterback.
Hugh Charles, the back out of the offset eye. Looking for a seam, and it closed up quickly at the 32. He picked up 2 as we go to Stan Brett for the Sports Center in-game update.
All right, guys, Oregon State and Cal, it's been back and forth. Justin Forsett punching it in for Cal. And the Bears will take a 21-20 lead at that point. But then Evanson Bernard at the other end for Oregon State gets up and over. 2-pointer good, so it's 28-21. And the number 2 team in the country on the ropes at home.
What about that? This is one of the more craziest, zaniest years in college football. Hawkins going on the post, and it's incomplete. Intended for Josh Smith, another one of those burners. Had 103 yards receiving last week in their win against Baylor. Almost looked like he stopped running on the play.
On the offense, number 73. Penalties decline.
Holding.
Going to be declined. The ball is at the 33-yard line, so they are on the fringes of field goal range. for Kevin Eberhardt, who last week had 4 field goals of 40 yards or more. It's 4th down and 13. Eberhardt coming into the ball game. This one looks like it'll be right around 50 yards. He's 1 for 1 on this distance this year, 10 of 15 on the season.
Well, he was 5 for 6 last week against Baylor, though.
Eberhardt got it, knocked it through. Kevin Eberhardt, with some room to spare, knocks it through from 50 yards out.
Mark hit a 54-yarder last week right before the half in the heat and humidity in Waco, Texas. You know, a lot of times with these Colorado kickers, they talk about the thin air. There's no thin air in Manhattan or Waco now.
They get a little sensitive about that.
Oh, you're going right there. That's 54 and 50 the last 2 weeks.
And Coach Hawkins, one of the more effusive and exuberant coaches. He really exudes energy. Interestingly enough, last year, I remember hearing about how at a homecoming pep rally before the Nebraska game, he said, hey, at 0-5, the worst days as a Buffalo are better than the best days as a Cornhusker. The crowd went wild, but the Nebraska fans kind of got wind of that.
Don't be talking about the Huskers tonight, man. They have enough problems. It was 35-0 Oklahoma State at the half today.
What has happened to their defense?
45-14. It's unbelievable. Oklahoma State 530 yards, I think, offense today.
Wow. Ken Hawkins has seen a lot of adversity at 1-9 as a JC coach. Wrote down a bunch of things that had gone wrong during that season, and he looked at it and said, you know, it wasn't all that bad. Decided to continue coaching, and things have kind of worked out for him since that point. 1:44 to go here in the first quarter. It's 10-3 now. From the 4-yard line, it's Patton. Patton on the scene. And all the way out to the 39-yard line. A nice return by Patton of 35 yards.
Mark, you know, Dan Hawkins, kind of the Zen master. You know, he goes about things a little bit differently as far as philosophy and motivation. But I noticed something. I don't know if you saw this in their notes. They had a thing with all the coaches where they asked them hobbies, favorite foods, favorite movie. They asked Dan Hawkins his favorite food. He said Mongolian. Now, I promise you, out of the 119 coaches in Division 1A, he's the only one who would have Mongolian listed as his favorite.
That's pretty exotic.
That even took you a little bit.
That pass complete to Jordy Nelson. Nelson with a little bit of yard after catch. Lots of yards after catch. That's the prevailing sentiment here in Manhattan about Nelson. He picked up 33 yards that time.
Great job by Josh Freeman, Mark, of looking the safety off. Josh Freeman actually looked to his left first. See him looking at the top? Then he comes back to the bottom of the field on one-on-one coverage to Jordy Nelson. Great job by the quarterback right there. Because there was great pass protection, he was able to do that.
Took care of him that time. 1:14 to go in the period. Johnson on the handoff. Well, darted through a couple of tacklers and got down to the 20-yard line. Wonderful effort by James Johnson. Brad Jones was there to make the stop, but Johnson picked up 8 yards.
Mark, Jeff Smart, the linebacker, had an opportunity to make the tackle inside out. Overran the football. Watch 45 right here, Jeff Smart. You always want to be inside out on the ball. Right here, he gets outside, lets the cutback happen.
Well, Johnson has run the ball pretty well so far for Kansas State here in the first quarter, has 42 yards in all. 2nd down and 1. Little option. The reverse. Nelson takes it and blazes. Murphy with the touchdown. Deion Murphy off the trickery.
They caught Colorado in man-to-man coverage. Watch, it's man-to-man. They're going to run the DB off, and then they're going to run the reverse, and there's no one left at the top of the field right here. That is a great play call of taking advantage of that coverage and no backside containment right there.
The extra point good. 17-3 lead for Kansas State. That's the 2nd rushing touchdown of Deion Murphy's career. You got 27, you got 87. The speed is comparable. It's fast. This guy, folks, is quicker than gossip. Back with more after this.
What makes a university a great university?
On the return to Buffaloes, there's a flag thrown, and Wheatley is on the move. Terrence Wheatley all the way down to the 26-yard line, but will it stand? Wheatley showing that he's got some wheels as well. Took it all the way across the field.
Well, Mark, that's the worst feeling as a coach, or especially if you're Wheatley after a big return and you see that laundry line
During the
on that
return,
field.
holding against the return team, number 28. The 10-yard penalty from the spot of the foul. First down.
They're going to bring it back then.
Well, a big holding penalty, Mark, on Brett Smith, number 28, right over there in front of the Colorado bench.
If you're Coach Hawkins right now, what are you thinking, Bob? What do you do to get your team back into this game? They're on the fringes right now, down a couple of touchdowns.
What makes me nervous right now, if I'm Dan Hawkins, is the team speed of Kansas State. They look really fast to me. But I think I come back and I run the football. I put it on you, Charles, a little bit, because my quarterback, who's also my son, is not very accurate right now throwing the football. So you better line up and run that ball and settle this team down a little bit.
There's a look at his son, Cody Hawkins, who on National Signing Day a couple of years ago actually faxed in letters to Boise State and Colorado. His dad didn't know that it was actually going to be Colorado until he received the letter. Nice run up the middle from Byron Ellis. Ellis with 8 seconds to go in the period picks up the first down. Got 14 on that play.
Mark, we don't talk about the center very much, but watch this block by Daniel Sanders right here on the nose guard climb. This is a great job by the center. Just overwhelms him right there at the point of attack. Actually, that was on 92, Brandon Balcom.
The big guy's trying to move the pile up front. After the first period of play, Kansas State winners in 6 of the last 10 against Colorado, leading by 14 points. We'll be back to the Little Apple, Manhattan, Kansas, after this.
Here comes Pizza Hut's Brazil.
Welcome back, everybody, to Bill Snyder Family Stadium in Manhattan, Kansas. Kansas State leading 17-3. They scored on their last 3 possessions. It's first down and 10 for the Buffaloes. Hawkins on the little counter. That's Hugh Charles with a nice run. He can hit it between the tackles, folks. All the way down to the 40-yard line, brought down by Courtney Herndon. But a first down, Colorado.
Mark, I think this is a great job by Colorado. Mark Helfrich, the offensive coordinator, run right at Kansas State. See an excellent block right there by the true freshman, 51, Kai Meava. Young guy from Hawaii, but run right downhill on this undersized Kansas State defense.
I saw Charles break a couple of tackles on that run. Ellis now spelling him in the backfield after that pickup of 24. Play fake. Hawkins complete to his tight end at the 20-yard line. That's number 84, DeVree. And DeVree with a pickup of 25. Little transfer from Western Michigan, former All-MAC conference.
Mark, you get the tight end right here, one-on-one with the safety. He's going to go down, make a little outside move on number 21, Gary Chandler. Right there, just runs away from him. They really just turned him loose.
All the way down to the Kansas State 14 for DeVree on the sidelines. Charles back in.
Mark, when you can run the football, it settles the quarterback down, plus it opens up the play-action pass.
They toss it to Charles, and Charles is brought down after a gain of about 1 play. Ian Campbell making the stop. That's the first time we've called Campbell's name. Had a chance to visit with him yesterday. Last year had 11.5 sacks. This year teams are scheming and game planning for him, but his motor runs about 150 miles per hour.
Man. We had to put a seatbelt in that seat yesterday in that meeting room with him. He was ready to jump out of that seat. But, you know, they actually moved him from a down defensive end to a stand-up outside linebacker in situations. You see him standing up in a 2-point stance right there, Mark.
And 2nd down and 8. And on that same play that Charles brought down after a gain of about 1 to Gary Chandler. Chandler making the stop, coming up from his strong safety spot. This is a 3-4 defense that the Wildcats play. Prince's influence in working with Al Groh in Virginia.
And you talk about Gary Chandler, Mark. Watch right here, 21. He's the strong safety. He's the extra guy in the box. So you actually bring 8 guys up there. That's why play-action pass becomes a weapon, because you're committing that safety just like he's a linebacker against the run.
3rd and 8. Hawkins out of the shotgun into the end zone. And no play. And now the flag comes. Definitely interference. Brian Baldwin back there defending on the play for Kansas State against DeVray, who came back into the play. John Hulick also in the area.
Yeah, Mark, you had the linebacker Hulick, 39, out in open space.
On the defense, number 39. By rule, the ball he placed at the 2-yard line. Automatic 1st down.
What happened, Mark? That ball was underthrown. You're going to watch 39 man-to-man. He never looks back for the ball. He just went and tried to play right through the tight end, DeVray. Excellent call.
That's the first Wildcat penalty of the ball game. And it's 1st down and goal to go. Sumler in the backfield, number 8 for the Buffaloes. And he gets the call, eludes a tackler, but is stopped up short of the end zone. About 2 feet away. Got a yard on the play. There was a missed tackle by Ian Campbell.
Yeah, Mark, Ian Campbell with great penetration in the backfield. But again, Hugh Charles, a physical back, in my opinion.
Sets up a 2nd down and goal. There's a look at Campbell, whose brother Jared played at Wyoming.
Hey, Mark, when you're a coach, when you have 2 true freshman offensive linemen starting, you take nothing for granted. So don't take this short drive here for granted by Colorado trying to get in the end zone.
Hawkins into the end zone, and it's caught. Touchdown, Buffaloes. Behrens came out of the backfield to make the catch on the play. And Colorado with a nice answer on that drive, moving it methodically down the field.
Yeah, Mark, they lined Jake Behrens up. Kind of a slot position just inside the tight end. Little play action. How about that drive set up by the running game of Colorado?
Well, he pounded away a little bit and got to the end zone. The extra point is good. It's now down to a 7-point lead for Kansas State. Behrens, the best athlete amongst the fullbacks. And hey, look at this. Hands too. That might give Hawkins a little confidence. Back after this. Jake Behrens with a carry earlier in the game, Bob, and a catch for a touchdown.
Fullback's dream. Dan Hawkins creating a monster.
Taking
Behrens, he's going to be in that office Monday morning. Say, Coach, just give me the rock a little bit more, man.
And Hawkins known for some of his innovative offensive schemes. But that was an important answer on that last offensive drive for Colorado. They ran the ball and showed a lot of toughness, punching it into the end zone, and now to within 7 points of Kansas State. Colorado undefeated in the Big 12 North at 2-0 coming in. Kansas State at 1-1. This one out of bounds at the 8-yard line before Patton could get to it. And the flag goes down. You see Cope there, the kicker for Colorado. Not a good sign when your kicker has made 5 tackles on the season.
I'm not sure it's a good sign when your head coach high fives you after you kicked it out of bounds either. I like that by Ron Prince.
They're going to make him do it again. Yeah, when you have an explosive talent on the kick game.
Exactly, Mark. Don't take that ball at the 35. I mean, you got some home run hitters back there. And you talked about Ron Prince following the Virginia Tech plan when he took this Kansas State job. You know, he was an assistant at Virginia, the offensive coordinator for Al Grove for 5 years. So the Virginia Tech plan, a bunch of speed on your football team, and obviously special teams emphasis.
Well, you talk about a very sharp and meticulous, fastidious preparation guy. Ron Prince has taken a very circuitous route to get to this head coaching position at Kansas State. And you look at what they've done in non-offensive touchdowns.
Our meeting with him yesterday, maybe one of the most impressive, if not the most impressive meetings, Mark, of the head coach I've ever been involved in.
Really calculating in everything that he does. And here's the kickoff return and the special teams at work again. Beyond the 40 to the 41-yard line. Back to Stan Barrett for the Sports Center in-game update.
All right, Mark, Oregon State and Cal. Cal trying to climb back in this one, down 10. Under 3 minutes to go. Kevin Riley started in place of Nathan Longshore. And it's Lavelle Hawkins, who's had a big game, taking this one all the way in for the touchdown. They cut it to 3. They just got the ball back now, but time not on their side. A minute 32 to go. They're depending on Riley to try to get him there. And Oklahoma's knocked Missouri from the ranks of the unbeaten, and the Sooners look to move up if Cal goes down.
It has been a crazy, crazy couple of weeks in college football. Right now you can hear some cheers coming from Columbus, Ohio, and Chestnut Hill, Massachusetts, with their 2 teams respectively looking at perhaps 1 and 2. That pass intended for Mastrud. Jake Duran breaking it up.
You know what? We probably ought to just start this football season over. I mean, it's been crazy. I mean, it is unbelievable to me. I still go back to our conversation 3 weeks ago about the 4 teams that were untouchable at the top of those rankings. Now look at it. I mean, LSU going down today. Cal potentially going down tonight. USC hanging on against Arizona in the Coliseum to win.
There's Johnson on the carry, and Bob, want to remind everybody that it's next week the BCS standings make their initial debut of the season.
How about Ohio State, Boston College, maybe 1-2 in the country if Cal goes down tonight.
Wow. Who'd have ever thought? I mean, the prognosticators said that Ohio State would be 3rd in the Big Ten this season. 11.5 minutes to go. Josh Freeman looking at 3rd down and 9 for Kansas State. Freeman, a quarterback that initially committed to Nebraska. Swayed by the persuasive approach of Ron Prince. Dumps it off to Johnson. Freeman looking to get a block out there, and Johnson got close to the 1st down. Not sure if he made it, though. He got pushed out of bounds by Terrence Wheatley. Picked up 9 on the play.
The speed of James Johnson. He's kind of like a wide receiver back there in that backfield. That was all speed right there. He just outran the angles of the Colorado Buffaloes.
It seems at this point of the game, Bob, to the naked eye that Kansas State has the edge in the speed department on Colorado.
I agree, Mark. I agree. And another one of those junior college transfers, James Johnson, for example, a guy from Port Arthur, Texas, went to Blinn Community College in Texas. Now he's here at Kansas State. So they get JC guys from all around the country.
Leon Patton in the backfield. He gets the carry. Patton weaving between tacklers, eluding a couple, and all the way down to the 24. They got gashed once again up front, Colorado did, and a nice pickup by Patton of 25.
Mark, interesting, they put the tight end 82 at fullback. You see Michael Pushki right there. 82 gets the block. Then the missed tackle right there by Colorado, but that's the tight end lined up as the fullback.
They are doing the job up front, Kansas State.
Leon Patton doesn't look a whole lot different from James Johnson, does he?
No. Both of them having big success for Kansas State. Patton again ran into his own blocker at the 20-yard line. Back to Stan in the studio.
All right, Mark, time for a SportsCenter 30 at 30 update. American League Championship Series Game 2. The Red Sox trailing the Indians right now 5-3. Johnny Peralta with a 3-run home run and Grady Sizemore with a solo shot for the Indians. Fausto Carmona and Curt Schilling, the starters, both out of the game at this point. And in college football, the #1 team in the country, LSU, goes down 43-37 at Kentucky on the eve of the first BCS standing. So we'll see where the Tigers wind up. More on SportsCenter after college football on ESPN or ESPN News. We'll help you stay current.
You got it, Stan. Patton got about 1.5 yards, 2 on the play, brought down by Nicholas. Patton last year in the backfield set a freshman school record for rushing yards in a season, a little over 600. And in a game at 151 in a single game.
A little bit surprised both these offenses moving the ball as proficiently as they're moving it. I mean, these are two pretty good defensive teams, both ranked in the top 25 in the country.
Kansas State 3-of-3 in the red zone today. Johnson back in the ball game. Lehman over the middle, complete to Mustard. And that's a first down at the 11-yard line. It is big imposing target. 6'6", 260 pounds. A sophomore getting the first down for the Wildcats.
Well, you know, we haven't talked much about Josh Freeman. You talk about big and imposing. I mean, Josh Freeman at 6'6", 250 pounds. When Ron Prince took the job here at Kansas State, he was committed to Nebraska. I mean, look at the size of that guy.
Hey, Bob, it's 245. He bowed up when he said 250.
But he was up to 260 in training camp.
Worked on his body a lot during the summertime. He's 7 of 11 passing. 121 yards. They run a little option here, but nowhere to go.
He just said, Coach, you didn't tell me when you come in and recruited me that I was going to have to run that option now. But
Barrett making the stop on the play. Look at the quarterback comparison so far.
It just shows you, Mark, how important the quarterback is to your program. I mean, Ron Prince goes into Kansas City, gets Josh Freeman away from Nebraska, could potentially turn this program around here at Kansas State. It is that critical at that position.
Yeah, Freeman telling us that, hey, Coach came into his living room, laid out a folder, a binder of his plan, and after that, he was ready to sign.
Well, he had you ready to sign yesterday.
Yeah, it was an impressive presentation, yeah. 8:13 to go in the first half. Underneath, and it's batted down at the line of scrimmage by Alonzo Barrett. It'll be 3rd down and long for Josh Freeman.
And it's just an interesting background with Ron Prince, offensive coordinator at Virginia for 5 years. You know, he played at Appalachian State. He himself, he's from 20 miles down the road where he grew up, but he went to Dodge City Community College, then played at Appalachian State, but he's been in the Ivy League at Cornell, coached a bunch of different places. But kind of a guy, Mark, that came out of nowhere. I mean, not many people knew about Ron Prince in college football prior to getting his head coaching job at Kansas State.
But Al Groh was real pivotal and instrumental in him getting ready for the job. Into the end zone, incomplete. No flags on the play, intended for the tight end again, Mastrud. And it's 4th down. In comes the field goal unit for the Wildcats.
Good coverage, Mark, by Daniel Dykes, the strong safety, and Brad Jones, the linebacker. Really had the big tight end sandwiched right there.
Brooks Rossman now in to attempt this field goal. He's already hit one tonight from 20 yards out. This one's going to come from about 36 from the left hash. And that one is true by Brooks Rossman, increasing Kansas State's lead to 10 points with just under 8 minutes to go here in Manhattan, Kansas. Back to Bill Snyder Family Stadium right after this.
ESPN's College Football Primetime, brought to you by Nissan, who invites you to ship the way you move through the world. And Allstate, proud sponsors of college football. Are you in good hands?
The Oz Museum in Wamego, Kansas has the largest collection of authentic Wizard of Oz memorabilia on display to the public, including over 2,000 artifacts dating from 1900 to today. Bob, we are in Kansas. You can tell by the wind. I think I saw Dorothy and Toto blow by on the highway here. on the Bill Snyder Highway, by the way.
Those storms we had last night, that thunder and lightning in this part of the country, it's for real now.
Yes. Kept us up last night.
Turned out to be a beautiful day, though, didn't it? Storm blew out of here.
It has. No rain yet. 11 play, 41-yard drive. Scoring drive by Kansas State. Ellis on the kickoff return. Let's go downstairs to Stacy.
Well, Mark, we see the way that Ron Prince motivates his guys. And, Bob, you talked about motivating a culture change with Colorado. And Dan Hawkins has certainly done it. How about, guys, in the offseason? He takes the show Survivor. He basically implants it in his program. He creates a council of players, council of coaches. Week to week, they vote one another off. If you didn't work hard enough that week, you're voted off. And you don't get to play any type of football activity throughout that week. All you do is go to class. He said they got rid of about 7 to 8 guys in the offseason, and they're more unified as a result right now. They're going to need that unity right now, Mark.
Yeah, Stacy, when you give players equity in the team, usually good things happen. They've gotten off to a good start as a result this year. On the run, a gain of about 2 yards on the play by Hugh Charles. Charles has 3 consecutive 100-yard-plus rushing games coming in tonight.
You know, Mark, you go back to that story, Stacy, with the Survivor deal. I mean, you can't fool the other players. You know, you might be able to fool the coaches a little bit because they're not around you all the time. But when you get players policing each other and being accountable to each other, you have something. Now, the only thing you have to be careful, it doesn't cause too much division on your team when you start voting each other off. But I think it's a great idea.
It seems to be working for Colorado so far. Hawkins hands it off to Charles again. A gaping, yawning hole for Hugh Charles on the move. Chugging all the way down inside the 40 to the 37-yard line. Hugh Charles has got some jets. Justin McKinney finally brought him down, but not after he picked up 38.
Mark, you're right. He can fly, and again, the fullback is going to get a block right here on the linebacker. Right there, he gets the block on 53, Reggie Walker. And, I mean, it is north and south. Don't be telling me about that track guy again now. This guy is a physical back, but that was great blocking up front.
Brian Lockridge giving Charles a breather. Lockridge dotting the I in the backfield. They give it to the fullback. It's worked successfully for them so far tonight. Moses Manu making the stop on the play on Barron. Back to Stan in the studio.
All right, guys, you won't believe this ending. Oregon State and Cal, Bears down 3, 14 seconds to go. Kevin Riley, the freshman quarterback in place of the injured Nate Longshore, trying to make a play, but he needs to throw the ball away. It was first down, but he doesn't throw it away. Cal can't get the field goal team on the field in time. And that's how it ends. So Jeff Tedford's going to have some questions to answer about how he instructed his quarterback in that situation, and they blow a chance to take over the #1 spot in the country as Oregon State wins it.
2 words there, time management.
No, wasn't happening. Freshman quarterback.
Oh, there you go.
I mean, at some point, that kid was told what to do.
I was just going to say, don't you tell him explicitly?
No question. But you could see there the kid was trying to scramble and make a play. And sometimes it's human nature. Right. As much as you tell someone, as much as you preach on what to do. So how about Cal going down there?
In addition to LSU a little bit earlier, and Wisconsin ranked number 19. Losing to Penn State.
You have to be impressed with Colorado rotating those backs in and out of the game. They played about 4 tailbacks tonight.
Hugh Charles back in there now. Charles has got the majority of the yardage and going to pick up some more here. Outrunning the opposition. Hugh Charles says, hey, speed, we've got some too. Charles with another first down for the Buffaloes. And he has got a burst.
Mark, it's the same play again with the fullback on Reggie Walker, the linebacker, right there. And then Hugh Charles runs through the tackle. But, I mean, there's no east and west. This is north-south, and that's how you attack this 3-4 defense that only has 3 down linemen in there.
Some tough running for Charles. Already 10 rushes for 114 yards in the first half with 5.5 to go still. And a timeout down in the field. Charles gets an opportunity to catch his breath, and what an impressive young guy he is. Not only can he fly on the football field, he can fly. Literally, folks. Several years ago, he earned his pilot's license, actually as a sophomore in high school, flying a Cessna. So he's got the attitude and the altitude, Bob Davey.
That's pretty good right there. You worked hard to get it. That was really good. Attitude and altitude.
He's got it happening.
Yeah, young guy, Mark, out of Texas. 4.53, the fastest, one of the fastest players on the team. But right here, you look at where he's gaining those yards. That's 111 yards right up the middle. And you're going to see Kansas State. See that 3-4 defense with those two bubbles right over those guards?
They give it to Sumler this time. And what about that 3-4? That is the Ron Prince way via his time with the 3-4 now grow in Virginia. Mark, what does it do for you, sir?
Well, I'll show you the 3-4 right here. We'll just put this in a freeze. Look at both guards from Colorado are uncovered. So there's some space in here and some bubbles in here to run the football. And that is the 3-4 defense. There's some gaps in the middle of the defense. And Kansas State this year with Tim Tebessar as the defensive coordinator went from a 4-3 to a 3-4 defense, Mark.
Features Sumler in the backfield now. Hawkins with a little play fake, looking in the end zone. Plenty of time, and he wisely throws that one away. Sometimes the best play is an incompletion.
Well said, Mark, particularly for a redshirt freshman just like Jeff Tedford right now. Would love to say if he would have thrown the incompletion, it'd be an overtime right now, Calvin, Oregon State. So good point.
Cody Hawkins now looking at 3rd down and goal. He was a member of our Summer House feature on ESPNU a couple of years ago. To think that he could withstand Chris Spielman.
Yeah, he's been
the sergeant
fire, man.
Byron Ellis in the backfield behind Hawkins. On 3rd down and goal for the Buffaloes. On the fade, throws it up, and it's incomplete, but there's a flag, and boy, was that ball even catchable.
I don't think it was. Did you see a flag?
I thought I saw a flag in the corner there. Maybe it wasn't.
But
came up.
You know, you don't feel the passing game right now of Colorado. You see that their strength right now in this football game, Mark, is running the football. But again, a very impressive drive. Just get some points right here, Colorado.
Everhart in for a field goal. This one much closer than his last one, which came from 50. And he knocks this one through from 24 yards out. So Colorado does cash in, albeit with a field goal. Coach Hawk will take it, giving his team a little bit of Hawk love right now, as he likes to call it. Hugh Charles on the sidelines being tended to by one of the Colorado training staff members as Colorado gets a field goal on that last drive. Kicking off right now.
Mark, how about Kansas State has scored on their last 4 possessions. Colorado has scored on their last 3 possessions.
A little more offensive-minded game than you thought.
I mean, that's 7 straight possessions that have been scores. These are 2 top 25 defenses.
Johnson and Patton back deep for Kansas State. Standing at the 7-yard line for the Wildcats. Big game for both these teams in the Big 12 North. That's opportunity in the division this year. This is Patton across the field, and this time, certainly a flag down at the 17-yard line. With 4.5 minutes to go here in the first half.
Mark, you're going to get a block in the back by number 30, Chris Carney from Kansas State right there. Interesting starters on these special teams for Kansas State. That's why they're good in special teams.
Illegal block in the back against the return team, number 30. It's a half the distance penalty, 1st down.
Coach Prince giving it to one of his players there on the sidelines. We're going to take a break and come right back after this.
Oh, Scarecrow, I've got a feeling we're not in Kansas anymore.
Oh no.
Oh, golly.
That's why I need my ESPN college football.
Oh, me too.
You know, Bob, the Tin Man needed a heart. The line needed courage. What do you say about a guy or a scarecrow that needs a brand? Smart enough to know that he needs his ESPN, right?
The only thing smarter, if you mentioned your name, that have said Mark Jones on that, you would have been forever.
The Oz Museum here in Kansas. Manhattan, Kansas, under the lights at Bill Snyder Family Stadium. I'm Mark Jones along with Bob Davey and Stacey Dale's down to the field. Both these teams have moved the ball well and cashed in with scores. Over the left side, this is James Johnson brought down by Dyson. Dyson, you know, Bob, you talked about his interesting rearing and upbringing in Hawaii. Talking about his mother working undercover with law enforcement. This is somebody that knows how to tackle a wild beast or a running back, because he's hunted wild boars in his native Hawaii as a youngster, and did it without the use of really any kind of sticks or firearms. Able to take those animals on with his bare hands.
Well, he's becoming a legend around the football team and the other players of Colorado, because he is a tough guy.
Freeman in the pocket, and it's incomplete. Dropped by Murphy. As we go back to Stan Verrett in the studio. Stan?
All right, Mark, Robert Smith's going to join me for the Yamaha halftime report coming up in just a minute. Bluegrass Miracle #2, but this time they're smiling in Kentucky after it's over. Cal misses out on a chance to be #1. You won't believe how they did that. And unbeaten's going down all over the place, Robert. So who's your #1 now?
At the risk of sounding like a homer, I have to say Ohio State. Who's it going to be? Boston College, South Florida. Ohio State belongs at #1.
Robert's dotting the I now. We'll see you at the half.
Chase McBride on the punt return of 6 yards after the 47-yard punt. And Bob, who's your pick for #1 in the BCS standings coming out?
It has to be Ohio State. I would say Ohio State 1. It's hard to say. Boston College #2.
So you like them over South Florida?
I do. I think Matt Ryan is a terrific football player.
Yeah, we saw them earlier this year in a victory at Georgia Tech in Atlanta.
During the return, illegal block in the back against the return team #6. It's a 10-yard penalty from the spot. First down.
Jeff Jagosinski has done an outstanding job in his first year on the JOB in Chestnut Hill, Massachusetts. Frank Spaziani, the Boston College defensive coordinator, one of the holdovers. And Dan Hawkins in his second year at Colorado. And so far, things much different than they were a season ago as far as Hawkins goes. And a lot of the credit goes to his quarterback right now, his son.
And no question. I mean, they've played well offensively, particularly running the football. But again, with Missouri going down to Oklahoma today.
Here's Dusty Sprague and a flag down back near the line of scrimmage at the 27-yard line. Things wide open in the North Division.
Exactly. With Missouri going down, all of a sudden this game is for the conference leadership of the league right now. Nebraska going down big time today to Oklahoma State. So this is a huge football game. Ron Prince looks on.
Holding on the offense, #76. 10-yard penalty from the previous spot. Replay, first down.
You look at the standings in the Big 12's North Division. Kansas perfect at 2-0, and next week Kansas plays at Colorado. That's an interesting game.
Exactly. And I believe Missouri plays Texas Tech, which would be a very entertaining game.
That's what it looked like at the start of the day. Kansas defeating Baylor today. And Kansas now 3-0. 1st and 20 for the Buffaloes. Little draw, Hugh Charles with not much room to go anyway. I don't care how many old videos you've watched of Walter Payton delivering the blow. There's not a blow you can deliver to get through that pile of would-be tacklers.
Anytime you have penalties, Mark, set you behind on down and distance.
2.5 minutes to go here in the first half. Colorado has had an answer for each of Kansas State's scores of late. See what they get done here on this drive. Ellis in the backfield.
Kansas State, Mark, with 2 timeouts. If they get a stop right here, they may burn a timeout right here if you're Ron Prince.
Second and 20, little bootleg action. Hawkins this time decides to run it himself out to the 25. Got about 7 yards on the play.
Mark, I would call timeout right here if I'm Ron Prince. Sets up a 3rd down and about 13 or 14 yards. I'd want to keep as much time on that clock as I could right now if I'm Kansas State.
Pivotal play here of sorts coming up for Colorado. Cody Hawkins playing for his father, the head coach, and there's some good and there's a little bit of bad in there. There's ambivalent feelings from both parties, but overall it's got to be great to be able to coach your son.
Can you imagine Dan Hawkins' wife, Cody Hawkins' mom? The quarterback and the head coach. You talk about 2 lightning rods.
Flag down on the play.
Yeah, the 25-second clock mark.
On the offense. 5-yard penalty. Replay 3rd down.
A little more dinner conversation at the Hawkins dinner table.
But that really is amazing. You know, and interestingly, we talked to Mark Richt, the head coach of Georgia, earlier in the season. Mark Richt's son's a quarterback in high school, committed to Clemson. He's just a junior. Mark Richt said, hey, I'd have loved to have him come to Georgia if he played any other position other than quarterback.
Yeah, the underlying thought there being that there's so much scrutiny on the quarterback and the head coach. Those are the 2 lightning rods on the team. 1 minute to go. Hawkins fires, delivers a strike complete. At the 40-yard line, Smith still on his feet out near midfield. And they get the 1st down with 52 seconds to go, picking up 30 on the play.
Wow, Josh Smith, the freshman receiver against bump and run man coverage. Brian Baldwin, but what a great catch. And you know, a courageous catch, because this guy, Mark, had a kidney injury during training camp, spent a couple nights in the hospital. I mean, he exposed himself right there, stretching out for that football.
Ran into a wall during summer practice, resulting in that aforementioned kidney injury. Hawkins given time into heavy traffic and nothing doing. Stops the clock with 34 seconds to go. Scotty McKnight was the closest Colorado player in the area. He's the team's leading receiver coming in.
Mark, you go back to Dan Hawkins and Cody. I mean, they do so many things together. Like, they went 3 days this spring. They went down to Florida. They were supposedly going to Disney World, but they spent 3 days in Gainesville watching the Gators spring practice.
That's what they told Mom, right?
Yeah, well, I think they left Mom at Disney World. Some free tickets, some rides, and they took off to Gainesville.
Hawkins came down to Boise State and Colorado. Option to go with his father. Hawkins completes this one at the 47-yard line. That's Dusty Sprague making the catch, picking up 4 with 29 seconds to go. Bill Buckner, interestingly enough, the former Red Sox player, baseball player, was an instrumental part of Cody Hawkins' development. So says Hawkins' dad, the head coach, and he feels that Buckner was able to instill a sense of confidence in who Cody was as an athlete coming up playing baseball. He was a pitcher, and by all accounts, a pretty talented pitcher. 3rd down and 6 coming up.
One thing, when you're a coach's son, you know how important it is to win, because that entire family lives and dies, Mark, with the outcome of these games.
A little screen incomplete and almost picked off. Charles had it go in and out of his hands. 4th and 6 coming up, and in comes the punting unit for the Buffaloes. Overall, though, a very offensive-minded and slanted first half for these two teams. With 25 seconds to go.
Timeout, Colorado. It's their first timeout.
Well, you got
the 30-second timeout.
The Hawkins father and son combination here at Colorado. There have been a few others in various sports throughout the years. Fresno State, the Sweeney connection, Jim and Kevin, who passed for 1,000 yards, 10,000 yards actually in college. Kentucky basketball, Tubby and Saul. Saw that picture a lot. Working over Saul quite a bit. And the Ripken clan in baseball. Cal, Billy, and Cal Sr., the manager. And for more on the familial ties for the Buffaloes, let's go to Stacy.
Well, Mark, I asked Dan Hawkins, what's the hardest part about coaching your son? I asked him that this week, and he said he really does have to put up a barrier. He kind of joked with us. He said, if my son throws a touchdown, my quarterback throws a touchdown, I might just have to wink at him. Another guy makes that play, I want to go slobber all over him because it was such a great play. So he certainly does have to keep some kind of a distance, Mark.
Yeah, it's a fine line that you walk when you're in that kind of situation.
Well, this is kind of interesting right here on 4th down and 6. Rather than punt this football, he's probably going to try to draw him off sides. Now he goes ahead and snaps it.
50% on 4th down conversions this year, and now under 50%, 7 of 15 on the drop pass by Gear.
What's interesting about that decision is Kansas State with the wind at their back. You know, it's a pretty stiff breeze down there. That and great respect for the Kansas State punt return game, but you know what? I would have punted that football right there. I mean, there's just too much wind in this stadium, and Kansas State still with 2 timeouts, Mark, and a big, strong quarterback now.
Yeah, they can get something done with the ball right near midfield at the 46-yard line. A 3-receiver formation out to the top of the screen. Johnson the lone back. 20 seconds to go for Kansas State with 2 timeouts remaining. Freeman comes the other way. And it's incomplete at the 45-yard line, intended for Daniel Gonzalez. 16 seconds to go, and well, it doesn't look much like Kansas State is going to try and get some points on the board here. Not using a timeout.
Mark, I would throw the football to number 27, Jordy Nelson. I'm going to get him the football down the field. You see him in that trips formation right now. This will be a kind of a Hail Mary type throw at him.
It's over 10 receptions in 3 consecutive games underneath. Just shy of the 40-yard line. It's going to be ruled complete to number 7, Lamar Brown. With 9 seconds to go.
And Mark Brooks Rossman, the kicker, his career long is 47 yards. Only 9.7. You have a time for one more throw right here.
He's made 2 tonight from 20 and from 36 yards out. Well, Monday Night Football is on ESPN at 8:30 Eastern with Eli Manning, Plaxico Burress, and the Giants off 3 straight wins facing Warwick Dunn and the Atlanta Falcons. Coverage begins at 7 Eastern with Monday Night Countdown. The Giants at 3-2, the Falcons at 1-4. And a look at the quarterback comparisons. Eli Manning and boy, how tough, how unenviable a position is Joey Harrington in, filling in for Michael Vick this year.
Yeah, and you know what I thought you were going to say there? The feeling, how about if you're Michael Vick? Just sitting there, one thing you can say about Michael Vick, a passion for football now. Yep. To sit there and watch all this play out. And what's next for him? I mean, just sitting there thinking about the uncertainty in his life.
Sentencing coming up for him in early December. 1st down and 10 for Kansas State with 9 seconds to go. One quick play and then perhaps the field goal unit. Freeman fires. Freeman completes it to Jordy Nelson, who gets out of bounds with 3 seconds to go. The ball is at the 34, so you're looking at maybe a 51-yard field goal.
And wind, Mark. I mean, he can make this field goal. Career long again, 47, but I still go back to that decision by Dan Hawkins to go for that on 4th down. I didn't like that.
Right near midfield. Here we go with Brooks Rossman from about 52 yards out. His career long is just 47. Coach said he let him go from about 50 plus.
He drilled it.
And he nailed it.
That's a bad decision by Dan Hawkins.
Kansas State, Bob, able to take advantage of the Hawkins decision to go for it on 4th down near midfield. So Ron Prince's team able to capitalize and go into the locker room now, increasing its lead to 10 points, 23-13, down to Stacy.
Coach Prince, how has your defense been able to keep Cody Hawkins off rhythm, out of balance?
You know, we haven't stopped the run at all, so that really hasn't been much of a factor. I think they're moving the ball at will by running it, and I think that's what we're really going to have to stop. And I understand what your question is, but really, if we don't stop the run better than that in the second half, they won't have to use him.
How has the wind affected your pass game, and how will it affect your pass game in the second half?
I don't think the wind's been much of a factor for either team. You would think it would be standing out here, but it really hasn't been much.
Thanks, Coach. Mark.
All right, Stacy, Kansas State leading by 10, leaving the field in formation. Now to Stan Verrett and Robert Smith for the Yamaha halftime report.
All right, thanks a lot, Mark. Ron Prince and company has never squandered a halftime lead since he's been their head coach, 10-0 when they lead at the half. Welcome in, once again, the Yamaha halftime report. Stan Verrett along with Robert Smith. And forget everything you know about college football, because once again this week, it's crazy, especially at the top. The #1 team in the country, LSU, going into Kentucky. Remember 2002, the Bluegrass Miracle, when they threw the touchdown pass to Devery Henderson to win it? Well, they came out running today. Charles Scott,
little stiff arm
55 yards. And look at him go. Didn't quite make it there, but he would punch it in later. And he tied the game at 7 for the Tigers. Under 2 minutes left in the half. LSU up 3. Matt Flynn giving it back to Scott. And LSU up 17-7, and it's all good for the Tigers, right?
Yeah,
wait a minute.
Of course it is.
Wait a minute. Just over a minute to go in the half. Andre Woodson pump fake. You don't see him run much, but that'll work.
Yeah, you're in man coverage. It opens up in there like that. Linebackers drop out. Go ahead and take it.
17-14 LSU at the half. Third quarter, Matt Flynn to Richard Dixon. And LSU up 24-14. Still all good for the Tigers. 4 minutes left in the third. 3rd and 8 for LSU. Flynn to Keith Zinger. He's got to make that catch, right?
Got to make that catch. And a perfect opportunity. The ball was right where it needed to be.
Kentucky later on the 8-yard line. Woodson's tight end, Jacob Tammy, does make the catch, and Kentucky cuts it to 27-21. Under 5 minutes left. Lone Sieber, the field goal. Got it. And that ties the game at 27. So 2 seconds left in the game. Colt David attempting a career-long 57-yarder. He'd never hit anything from beyond 46. That was long enough, but he missed it, so they go to overtime. Les Miles, don't worry about it. 2nd and goal for LSU after Kentucky had scored. Richard Murphy. 34 apiece after the first overtime, so they play on. 2nd OT. Kentucky needs his field goal to extend the game. Sieber got it again. 37 apiece. So they go to a 3rd overtime. 3rd and goal for Kentucky from the 6. Woodson took a pop, but he got it away and found Steve Johnson. 2-pointer, no good. So 6-point Kentucky lead. LSU has to score. 4th and 2 at the 25, trying to keep the game going. Scott can't get the first down. Kentucky wins it. Their first win over a #1 team since 1964. They've got 8 straight wins at home, and they snapped LSU's 13-game win streak, which was the longest win streak in the nation. And Andre Woodson had a big stage, delivered that win against Louisville earlier in the season, but this was his signature win.
It really was a signature win. When you look at the game against South Carolina last week, I mean, he was turned the ball over a couple times, had the interception, had the little lateral pass, and people were saying, oh, this guy doesn't know how to play in big games. You know, he can never do it. He's out of the Heisman race. Forget about him. Well, you knew he was going to come back this week and play his best game. I didn't think it was going to be enough to win this ball game against this LSU defense, but obviously it was. Great job for Andre Woodson. Congratulations to Kentucky on a huge, huge upset win.
All right, so the first BCS standings coming out tomorrow. So LSU, the #1 team in the country, expected to be #1 in the BCS. They go down. Cal had a chance now to take over the #1 ranking in the country. Kevin Riley starting for them against Oregon State in place of the injured Nate Longshore, who had an ankle problem. And Riley to Lavelle Hawkins. What a game for Hawkins. 65 yards for the touchdown. And you try to take away Deshaun Jackson, and Hawkins makes you pay.
Well, Hawkins, and you got Robert Jordan as well. So they got a trio of really powerful receivers out there at Cal.
Under a minute to play now. 4th and 7. And Riley connects with Hawkins again. First down, Cal still alive. Now, later in the drive, 1st and 10 from the 12. Well within field goal range. Riley, freshman quarterback, trying to make something happen. He needs to throw this ball away, but he doesn't.
Spike it, spike it, spike
and so
it.
now there's just the band is on the field. And Cal,
what is it?
They can't get the field goal team on in time. They can't spike the ball, and they go down by 3, squandering an opportunity to take over as the #1 team in the country. So let's go through that last play again. You got a freshman quarterback out there. What should have happened?
I'll tell you what should have happened. You're on the sideline. You're the quarterback, or I'm sorry, you're the coach. You grab that quarterback by the face mask and you say, look, we don't take a sack here. We cannot afford for you to get tackled in bounds or for a receiver to get tackled in bounds. If by some chance you do get tackled in bounds or a receiver gets tackled in bounds, get in formation right away, spike the ball. That's what you tell them. Or you tell them to throw it away. But if by chance you get caught in bounds, then you have to get up there and spike the ball. But you got to know the situation here. You know that, you can take your shot at the end zone, but all we need is a field goal to send this thing into overtime. We're playing at home. Just don't lose this ball game. That's what I would have said.
Do you hang it on Tedford, Jeff Tedford, the Cal coach, or do you hang it on Riley?
It depends on what was said. I don't know what was said. I assume that he said those things. Now, assuming that Jeff Tedford said those things, then you have to blame it on the quarterback.
Right. All right, so LSU and Cal, the top two teams, both undefeated previously, they get knocked off. What about the rest of the undefeateds? LSU and Cal not the only ones suffering their first losses of the season. We got more coming up on the Yamaha Halftime Report.
Welcome back to the Yamaha Halftime Report.
Missouri also unbeaten on the season, going to Oklahoma, trying to knock off Bob Stoops and company. They won 16 of the last 17 meetings with the Tigers. Sam Bradford, Joaquin Iglesias, and that tied the game at 7. Later, Oklahoma up 3, Bradford to Jermaine Gresham for the touchdown. What's your impression of Bradford so far?
Oh, I mean, like everybody else, I think he's incredible, leading the nation in passer efficiency, just getting better as he goes along.
Missouri down 6. Later, Chase Daniel. He pitches it to Jimmy Jackson for the touchdown in Missouri.
Jimmy Jackson, he's a good basketball player.
Same score, Oklahoma first and goal. Chris Brown gets it in for the touchdown. Oklahoma up 29-24.
Pushing his lineman out of the way, too. You got to love that. Hey, go ahead, get out of the way.
Next Missouri drive. Hard to figure out what happened there between Daniel and Jeremy Macklin, but Curtis Lofton will take it.
He's number 40.
He's a man. He's a man. He's number 40. Oklahoma up 35-24. They go on to win it 41-31. Ohio State, number 3.
Broken ankle.
Could be number 1. Brian Hartline. You remember Ted Ginn Jr.? Well, he never had a punt return go 90 yards for a touchdown like Brian Hartline. Robert Smith returned some punts at Ohio State. He never had one go 90 yards for a touchdown. Brian Hartline did, and the Buckeyes should be ready to celebrate tomorrow when the BCS comes out. 48-3. They knock off Kent State.
Hey, they know being number 1 at this time of the season means absolutely nothing.
Boston College and Notre Dame. BC still unbeaten. Matt Ryan to Kevin Challenger. In for the touchdown. Irish coming off that win over UCLA, but not enough today. 27-14. BC remains perfect at 7-0. Central Florida. Enjoy their best season ever. South Florida, rather, taking on Central Florida. Matt Grothe, second consecutive week he runs for over 100 yards. Also hit Cedric Hill for that touchdown. And South Florida, a winner once again. What about the other unbeaten? Some of the surprise teams, Kansas, Cincinnati, Connecticut, also trying to avoid their first blemish of the season. We'll check on those teams when the Yamaha Halftime Report continues.
This Halftime Report brought to you by Yamaha ATVs. Ain't nothing tougher than a Yamaha. This is the Yamaha Halftime Report.
Welcome back to the Yamaha Halftime Report. Louisville and Cincinnati, the Bearcats unbeaten, but Robert Smith guaranteed that Louisville would beat them.
I didn't guarantee they would beat them, but I certainly picked them. They were due.
Well, this is Ben Mogg dumping it off to Dominic Goodman, and he put Cincinnati up 7-0. Take that, Robert Smith. Third quarter, Louisville down 21-14. Brian Brown under pressure.
Get it done for me, Brian.
But look at him scramble. And he hits Patrick Carter back of the end zone. Louisville ties it at 21.
My man Brom didn't want to make a liar out of me.
Fourth quarter, same score, first and goal for Louisville. Anthony Allen, boom. And he punches it in. Louisville takes a 28-21 lead. They go on to win it 28-24, just like Robert said they would.
KU.
This is Kansas and Baylor. And Kansas taking this one back for the touchdown. Kansas also among the unbeatens, as Kansas rolls in this one over Baylor. And Kansas sitting on top of the Big 12 North at this point. Kansas State trying to keep up with them. Kansas State leading Colorado 23-13 right now at the half.
Rocky Mountains, home to the University of Colorado at Boulder. Ranked the 11th best public university in the world and 6th in the nation for public university research funding. With world-class academic programs, including 4 Nobel Prize-winning faculty and the #1 public university in NASA funding. The University of Colorado.
Second half of our game coming up from Manhattan. James Johnson and K-State. Big 12 North wide open.
Everything's wide open.
They're trying to protect their 10-point lead on Colorado. Mark Jones and Bob Davie with the second half in just a minute.
This halftime report brought to you by Yamaha ATVs. Ain't nothing tougher than a Yamaha.
All right. Today we're going to start with 12 BCS game appearances, add 8 Final Fours, 276 academic All-Americans, and 385 NCAA championships. That's an important ingredient. Mix that all together. Oh, that is going to be so good. And we'll put it in the oven for about 12 years. And voila, the Big 12 Conference, celebrating 12 big years. Who wants some of that?
Back under the lights at Bill Snyder Family Stadium here in Manhattan, Kansas. Kansas State leading Colorado 23-13 as we get ready for the start of the third period of play. The Wildcats will kick off. Colorado will receive. The Wildcats received the opening kickoff to begin the game after winning the toss. And Colorado has had one good kick return tonight already, with Terrence Wheatley doing the honors as we get underway here in the third quarter. State keeps any of that momentum after scoring late in the first half of play on that field goal. I'm Mark Jones along with Bob Davie and Stacey Dales down in the field. Bob, really more of an offensive-minded first half than we would have thought coming into this game when you looked at what we saw on both sides defensively.
Yeah, Mark, I agree. I mean, both these teams' top 25 defenses really surprised to some degree just how successful Colorado has been running the football right at Kansas State. So it'll be interesting to see, does Kansas State commit even more to stop the run, which potentially could open up some play action for Cody Hawkins.
And Hugh Charles has been an instrumental part of what Colorado has been able to do so far in the first half running the football. Charles already over 100 yards on the ground.
Exactly, and Colorado with 176 yards rushing in the first half, and they've attacked this Kansas State defense. Kansas State, on the other hand, pretty balanced offensively so far in this football game.
In the big picture, Colorado is 2-0 in the Big 12's North Division. Kansas State at 1-1, and we're going to do it all over again down in the field. There's an offsides against the kicking team, so we'll tee it back up again. Here's a look at the relevant statistics from the first half of play. The rushing yardage for Colorado, as we mentioned, pretty good at 176, most of those coming from Charles.
Yeah, really, Mark, an even football game. You have to go back again and mention Dan Hawkins' decision at the end of the first half to go for it on 4th and 6, which eventually led to just a gimme, not a gimme, but a field goal by Kansas State. So all of a sudden it's a 10-point game instead of going in a 7-point game.
Coach Hawkins has that Boise blood in him still, where they like to take a few risks and gambles. This one down to the 7-yard line. It's Wheatley on the return, and Wheatley stopped up at the 27. And Stacey Dales had a chance to speak with Coach Hawkins at the break. Stacey?
Yeah, Mark, I just asked Coach Hawkins his thoughts on the first half, and he said defensively, for some reason, we just came out a little too tight. He said we're not lining up, too many penalties. He told his guys at the half to relax and line up properly offensively. You said it, Bob Davie. He's very happy with the rush game, but he said we really have to stay out of long yardage situations, guys. It's very, very windy down here. See if that plays a factor in the second half.
All right, Stacey, first down and 10. They're going to start from their own 27-yard line. Colorado with 4-2 coming in overall in the midst of a 3-game winning streak.
And Colorado, because they decided to take the football, which they should have done, Mark, they're going into the wind here in the third quarter.
Here's Hugh Charles out to the 30-yard line, brought down by Justin McKinney. Nice little run out beyond the 30-yard line, picked up 4 on the play.
Mark, like Stacy, her question to Dan Hawkins. Dan Hawkins saying we have to stay out of long yardage situations. Obviously, if the strength of your football team is running the football, then you have to stay on rhythm, and you cannot have penalties to back you up and force you to throw the football if you're Colorado. They want to run the football, Mark.
They're able to muscle up and bowl up on Kansas State like they do here a little bit. Charles, so elusive, so slippery, so quick, and he gets the first down. Hugh Charles doing a nice job between the tackles and on the edges, Bob.
And Mark, you liked him coming in. You know, the tapes you watched, just like myself. We like Hugh Charles, particularly against Oklahoma. I mean, this is a talented guy that you're watching the full maturation process now. Has always had the ability, now seems to have the want-to.
Yeah. And the good thing about Charles, you know, he pulled a hamstring earlier this year, actually on the 4th play of the game against Colorado State in their season opener. Missed the next game against Arizona State and has come back and showing no effects from that injury. Hawkins to pass and backside pressure. Oh, what a catch. Number 21, Scotty McKnight, extending to make the grab. And he picked up 11 yards on the play. Good pressure from Rob Jackson on the backside.
Mark, you're right. Good job by Cody Hawkins. I mean, he feels this pressure comes, just sidesteps it a little bit. And then Scotty McKnight, an interesting story. A redshirt freshman walk-on broke his ankle in the spring, first day of spring practice. His dad actually played with Dan Hawkins at UC Davis. Young guy from California. That's how he ended up at Colorado, Mark.
Yeah, Bob, interesting. After he came back from that fracture on the direct snap, that was Charles running it. Got about 2 yards on the play back to McKnight. Came back, and in the first game, he had over 100 yards receiving. That time, Charles on the ground.
It's amazing how in coaching, all of a sudden you're recruiting guys, sons that you played with. I mean, Dan Hawkins is a young guy now, you know, but he's
Tuesday night at the Hawkins residence, he was talking with his son Cody about a band that Cody and his younger brother are thinking about putting together. Another direct snap. And a better result this time for Hugh Charles, still about 4 yards shy of the first down. Cody telling us after the walkthrough yesterday that he plays the bass guitar. And I know that bass guitar guys are usually amongst the most popular guys in the group. Him and the drummer.
Is that really true?
Yeah. Never played either of those instruments, Bob. I was a keyboard guy myself. 3rd down and 3 coming.
Isn't that interesting, though? Here's a starting quarterback on a major college football team as a redshirt freshman. He's talking about starting some kind of garage band Tuesday and Wednesday nights when he goes home with his brother.
A lot going on with the youngster. Hawkins just wants to complete a pass here. The dangerous throw that it's going to be ruled complete at the 42-yard line. Wow. Still about a yard short of the first down. You can see it there. Dusty Sprague making the catch. The 6'4" senior, but that thing traveled across the field in a long pass.
You're right, Mark. I mean, he shows the tenacity, the feistiness, Cody Hawkins, that he has throwing that football across the field.
This time they're going to go for it, Bob.
Yeah, I kind of like this right now. I think the big fullback will probably get the football right here. Jake Behrens.
Yep. And Lockridge in the backfield. They're 0 for 1 on 4th down. Behrens, I'm not sure that he got it. He might have gotten plugged and stuck at the line of scrimmage. So Kansas State's defense resilient and with a lot of resolve there on 4th down.
Yeah, Mark, let's take a look at this. A lot of penetration by the defensive end at the top. Number 90, Eric Childs, who's really an outside linebacker, but they lined him up in a stance, and then Marcus Watts, number 2, coming in, making the tackle. But a lot of penetration by Charles.
And good starting field position here for Kansas State, Bob, on their first drive of the second half. Look at quarterback Josh Freeman lined up as a receiver. They've run this direct snap a few times, and it's Johnson keeping it himself on that little pop play, faking the handoff to Murphy, and he picked up about 7. We have seen this as the vogue play in college football.
No question, Mark, because what happens, you put the quarterback out there at wide receiver, you still have to go cover him. So you take one of your guys on defense and go out there and play pass when everybody in the stadium knows it's run. But you can't just turn the guy loose out there.
Can we see somebody, a running back, at least throw it to a quarterback one of these times?
Yeah, we've seen McFadden throw it at Arkansas, right?
That's right. James Johnson. Oh, and this time he bobbles the snap. So this time it backfires on the Wildcats. Sometimes you get a little bit too funky with your formations.
Well, Mark, what happens? They're playing with the backup center, Trevor Veers, number 54. And anytime you have the backup center, although that was a pretty good snap right there.
Yeah, Johnson couldn't find the handle on it, Bob. It hit him in the hands.
Again, Mark, your point's well taken. You know, sometimes you try to do a little bit too much, but Trevor Veers, undersized guy who's gotten bigger, was in competition in the spring for the starting job, but Jordan Bador, the starting center, is out tonight.
Yeah, Bob, they lost 17 yards. Looking at 3rd and 20 now. It was a 2nd and 3. Freeman nowhere to go and got it off miraculously, and it's caught at the 38 by Deion Murphy, but far short of the first down. Good pressure on the play by Jordan Dyson. He picked up 5, Murphy did, but it's 4th down for Kansas State.
Well, and the misexchange on the shotgun really saved Dan Hawkins, who again went for it on 4th down, Mark, and didn't make it. But good stop by the Colorado defense, but Kansas State helped them a bunch on that drive.
Rayer on the punt, his 4th of the night. Back at the 16-yard line. Fielded cleanly by McBride, and McBride is brought down to the 20. McBride was a game-time decision. Little nicked and bruised, but hey, it's conference play. Hawkins with another chance when we come back. Welcome back to ESPN2's College Football Primetime, presented by GoDaddy.com. You're under the lights at Bill Snyder Family Stadium, Manhattan, Kansas. The Little Apple, a 10-point lead for Kansas State over Colorado in this Big 12 North Division Conference matchup. Colorado coming in the wake of a 3-game winning streak. But that in peril right now. Hugh Charles, the lone back. And he gets the call on 1st and 10, stopped up after a gain. Actually, maybe got back to the line of scrimmage. Hulick making the stop on the play for Kansas State.
Talk about Kansas State going to this 3-4 defense, making the switch from the 4-3. You know, they went and visited New England Patriots, Pittsburgh Steelers, Dallas Cowboys. A lot of the NFL teams now. You know, the 3-4 is kind of becoming back in vogue, Mark, as we look at Tim Tebow, the defensive coordinator.
2nd down and 10. Colorado keeping it on the ground with Charles. And Charles approaching a career high tonight on the ground running. Marcus Watts making the stop. And now Charles has reached his career high with 133 yards on the ground, averaging, Bob, almost 8 yards per pop.
Yeah, he's had a great night. You see Marcus Watts, number 2, the strong safety up there, making that tackle, Mark, on 2nd down. So they're committing to stop the run on running downs. Pretty soon Cody Hawkins is going to have to play action pass. Obviously, this is a true passing down here.
3rd and 9. Colorado hasn't been able to stretch the field much. They're 1 of 7 on 3rd down tonight. Hawkins incomplete. Looked like there might have been a little bumping and grinding going on down the sidelines, but no flags intended for Patrick Williams. And defiantly shaking his head is Justin McKinney, saying not here.
Yeah, Mark, there was a little bit of bumping going on right there, but you see right now Colorado is a run-first team. We're going to have a chance to look at it at the top right here. Yeah, no, that's a good no call all the way right there. Excellent coverage by McKinney.
3rd punt of the night now for Rayer, pardon me. That's Delalo. Almost 10. They got a little heat on him. And it's a high spiral that comes up a little bit short at the 47-yard line, where it's caught by Deion Murphy. 33-yard punt, nothing on the return. The Wildcats in good field position to start when we return to Manhattan.
ESPN's College Football Primetime, brought to you by Dodge. Live life to the fullest. Dodge, grab life. And Dickies, a legend in work.
You know, one of the great parts of the job, you get a chance to see some historical sites. This is one of them. Monroe Elementary in Topeka, one of 4 segregated schools in Kansas until the Supreme Court's Brown versus Board of Education decision in 1954 declared segregation unconstitutional in public schools. Steve LeBeau, our stats expert, and yours truly had a chance to go check out the school today, and interesting displays there to see. Actually had a drink from that fountain there, Bob Davis. Good for you. Yeah, nice field trip. Over the middle, the pass complete. That was Lamarck Brown for the first down. McKay making the stop on the play.
Mark, you remember back 2 series ago when Dan Hawkins went for it on 4th down at about the 43-yard line. Well, eventually that field position gain, because you didn't punt the football, catches up with you. Now Kansas State with great field position right here.
Yeah, moving in a little bit across midfield to the 40-yard line after the 13-yard gain. Backs lining up out of the eye. This is Johnson. Got that Patton picking up about 4 yards on the play. Smart and Barrett bring down Johnson. Those 2 running backs, bookend types. Patton, the changeup guy, but boy, they both seem to run in the same kind of similar styles, Bob.
They look the same.
Yeah.
I mean, that number 8 and 9, it's hard to tell the difference between those 2 guys. Here you see Deion Murphy lined up at tailback now, the wide receiver in the split back formation.
Freeman gives it to them. Boy, he can fly. Murphy got it in gear in about 2 steps and got down to the 30-yard line, close to that first down marker, picking up 7 on the play. Talked about Nelson's speed. Murphy runs a 4.36 40-yard dash.
Well, Mark, when a guy runs that fast, you better break down in the open field. Watch 29, Chappelle Brown has an open shot, but never breaks down and chatters his feet and comes to a balanced football position. And Deion Murphy will make you miss now in the open field.
The ball just at the 30-yard line, 3rd down and short, about 1 to go. Johnson, the lone back. When you got a quarterback that's 6'6" and 245, Freeman, you can just lean forward and get that first down, which is what Freeman did. Freeman from a very wonderful family. His father owns a packaging plant, is prominent on the political scene in the area. And interesting that he would change his mind about going to Nebraska and come here to Kansas State with the opportunity to play right away for Coach Ron Prince.
He looks like an NBA power forward when he walks in that room now.
6:36 to go in the 3rd quarter. Freeman has been made to understand that he doesn't have to force things this year. He's got playmakers around him. Just like that one right there. Murphy on the move. Juking, slick, tricky, touchdown.
That was impressive. Deion Murphy from Houston, Texas, by way of Coffeyville Community College. That's what you call a pick route right there. The defensive back got picked off. But I'll tell you what, he is an electric guy in the open field, Mark.
But he made some of those Colorado defenders look like Keystone Cops bumping into each other, running past about 5 Buffalo defenders. That actually was a career long for Murphy of 28 yards on his 4th touchdown catch of the season. Deion. Love me some Deion. Back after this. This ESPN2 telecast is available in astounding high definition on ESPN2 HD, presented by Pioneer Kuro. Kansas State with a touchdown a few moments ago to increase its lead to 30-13 with 6:19 to go now in the 3rd quarter of play. For Deion Murphy, his 2nd touchdown of the night.
Mark,
and his speed was clinically lethal on that play.
You are right. And I mentioned Coffeyville Community College. There's 8 junior colleges or community colleges that play football in Kansas, and that's a pipeline to this program. I mean, there's a kid out of Houston, Texas, goes to Coffeyville College, ends up at Kansas State.
They've had success going that route many times. Ellis, and Bob, pick is a 4-letter word, right?
Well, watch Mastrud, the tight end right here, Mark. because this football is thrown on Colorado's side of the line of scrimmage, if Mastrud's intentions are to run out there and pick the defender, that's an illegal play. Now, if Mastrud is just running a pass route and he happens to run into the defensive back, it's a legal play. Okay. So I'll let you make the call.
So it's one of those accidentally on purpose deals.
Well,
pretty much.
But you know what? It should not take away from Dion Murphy and how exciting he was after he touched that football.
Not many guys can be the beneficiary of a pick play and go the distance with it like Murphy just did.
And you're not going to get that call ever. I won't say ever, but close to never are you ever going to get that call.
Let's see how Colorado counters here. That pass complete to the tight end, DeVray. DeVray, the transfer from Western Michigan. He was all Mid-American Conference a couple of years ago. Sat out the 05 season after transferring.
The problem right now, if you're Colorado, your game plan has been to run right at Kansas State, but all of a sudden you look up and it's 30-13, so you're going to have to ride Cody Hawkins in the passing game now, Mark.
Colorado's 3-game winning streak on the line here, and their perfect record in the Big 12 North. Hawkins split out as a receiver. The direct snap going to Charles. Boy, he has made a lot of guys miss tonight on that sidestep, kind of moving parallel to the line of scrimmage, almost like a video game guy.
I'm going to tell you about that. Our coaches, the biggest copycats ever. Ever. I mean, you take things from everybody else, but I mean, you, Charles, what a great night and a great senior season, Mark.
4 consecutive games now going over 100 yards rushing. A young man out of Texas that very diverse in his academic endeavors and off the field as well. First down and 10. Hawkins given time, going up top. Has a man, and it's complete at the 24-yard line to Josh Smith. He beat Justin McKinney on the play, and it's first down for the Buffaloes.
And the freshman Josh Smith gets inside of Justin McKinney, Mark. And McKinney trying to play from the outside in, never undercut. He could have come underneath Josh Smith that time and maybe made a play on the ball. But what a great throw from Cody Hawkins to the freshman Josh Smith.
Good to see Josh Smith bounce back from that kidney injury we talked about. Cost him a couple of games this year. Hugh Charles back in the ball game. He dodged the offset eye. A direct snap to Charles. Breaks a tackle, and this is where he can really sting you. Hugh Charles diving and just coming up short of the end zone. Lunging out of bounds at the 1-yard line. He picked up 24. This guy can detonate at any moment.
Mark, a little counter action. Watch the fullback come back through, pin the linebacker 39. Wolick. And again, I mean, everybody in the stadium knows that it's going to be a north and south run with Charles at shotgun quarterback, but you still have to stop it.
We're going back to wing 2 football now, aren't we? Isn't that what it is?
I love Brian Kelly from Cincinnati last week. He told me he calls his offense the coast-to-coast offense because he's stolen ideas from coaches from coast to coast.
Flattery and imitation are bedfellows, that's for sure. 160 yards on the ground now for Charles. With a chance to add here, touchdown Buffaloes. And Colorado counters with a nice punch.
And just what you felt Colorado was letting this thing slip away because they hadn't been able to throw the football very successfully. They take that ball, what, 80 yards?
Hugh Charles doing the honors, and why not? He deserves it. That's an appropriate ending to the Colorado drive. Charles capping it with the 1-yard touchdown plunge, his 3rd rushing touchdown this season, the 11th of his career. And you would think that a guy that has his pilot's license can fly into the end zone when he has to. No flight plan needed to be filed as Colorado. I love milking that pilot thing. It's a great story. 10-point lead now for the Wildcats.
You've gotten some mileage out of that, you, Charles. Pilot license now.
Yeah. A career high 162 yards on the ground.
But I'll tell you this. I go back to our conversation. I had a conversation with you early in the week. And you had to do some NBA stuff this week as well. But you told me after watching the tape, Hugh Charles. That was your early scouting report.
I kind of put him in that. This may sound pretty absurd, but in terms of explosiveness and speed, he looked every bit as good as the Ray Rice guy that we saw the week before.
I mean, you start comparing Mike Hart, Ray Rice. I mean, this guy, Hugh Charles, is right in that mix. If not in some ways, more impressive because I think he's faster.
Yeah. And Colorado back in this football game, down by just 10 now with 4:34 to go in the third quarter.
Mark, doesn't that show, though, like a guy like you, Charles? All of a sudden, there's no next year. I mean, this is it for you. I mean, this is your contract year.
Some of these guys, and deservingly so, justifiably so, with the mind on the money and the money on the mind. Kickoff return from the 13. This is Johnson, tripped up over the 22-yard line. A 10-yard return. Well, it's time to reveal player number 19 in IBM's top 25 greatest players in college football.
IBM presents the 25 greatest players ever. Number 19, Dick Butkus. Playing both center and linebacker, Butkus was twice a unanimous All-American selection. He was named Big Ten MVP in 1963 and was the coach's National Player of the Year in 1964. IBM, getting it done.
Did not know that Dick Butkus, the great number 51, played center on offense as well.
Mark, all those guys played both ways.
Was no big deal back then either. Almost screwed with the catch for the first down after the 37-yard line. Well, here's a look at the updated list so far, and I'll tell you one thing. I don't want to pile on, Bob, but right there, let me use our telestrator. Where is it? Is this it right here? Johnny, Nebraska could use that cat right now.
Wow, you're right.
Huh? The ordinary superstar.
Especially if he played corner. On defense, they could use it.
Nebraska's struggling today, losing in Big 12 North action.
You know, Mark, Josh Freeman, we talked about a lot of interceptions, has not thrown an interception yet in this football game, which is key for Kansas State.
The time he hands it off to Johnson, who cut back and was pushed out of bounds, and it looks like we might have a personal foul call at the 41-yard line. A little late hit on the Colorado side of the field.
Well, Mark, what happened? James Johnson stiff arms Terrence Wheatley a little bit. Watch right here on the sidelines. You're going to watch the stiff arm right there, and then Wheatley gives a little shove. You know, on offense, you're allowed to put your hand in the defensive player's face like that as long as you don't grab the face mask. I see why Wheatley did it. I don't particularly like the call, but he did push him out of bounds.
Yeah.
I mean, you get that hand stuck up in your face like that.
It's kind of just a natural, innate reaction to do what Wheatley did.
But boy, that changed the field position in a hurry, didn't it?
No doubt. Now into Colorado's side of midfield at the 44-yard line. Look into the eyes of quarterback Josh Freeman, Patton in the backfield now. Freeman went 22 of 26 against this Colorado team last year. And here is more Dion Murphy. And Murphy down to the 33-yard line. Got a nice block from his quarterback Freeman on Bernie, and Murphy picked up 11.
Hey, Mark, how big did Daniel Dykes' eyes get when he saw Dion Murphy with a full head of speed in the open field? Watch right here. I mean, you're going to see Daniel Dykes, number 9, right now. And also a great block by 78, Alisana, the offensive tackle. But I mean, that's just getting him down right now in the open field.
A bootleg, and Freeman fires to Jordy Nelson underneath. Nelson close to another first down. They will move Nelson around and make him a target on both sides of the field, in a slot on the wide-out spot, and approaching 100 yards receiving again tonight.
Mark, we haven't talked a lot about Jordy Nelson, but 6'3", I mean, big, fast, comes from a town there were 60 kids in his senior class, walked on to Kansas State, was a defensive back. Bill Snyder called him in, moved him to offense. This kid is a great player. 15, 12, and 10 catches the last 3 games.
And got married over the summer to the former Emily Roethlisberger, his high school sweetheart. As his Patton got about a yard and a half. Downstairs to Stacy for more on Jordy Nelson.
Well, guys, you wonder where that work ethic comes from. I had a chance to spend some time with Jordy, as we both did, all three of us yesterday in meetings, and he's a farm guy. He grew up on a farm, cattle farm, crop farm. His favorite thing to do, he told me on Wednesday, was herd the cattle into their chutes and get them in the headlocks. He said they were long hours, arduous hours, but it's really paid off in his football career, guys.
Riley, Kansas, the farm bearing a lot of wheat, corn, and like you said, the cattle. I'm not big on that cattle wrestling thing, but that'll get you some work ethic. Here's Freeman. That pass almost picked off at the 10-yard line, intended for Puski. And Nelson's night so far yielding 93 yards receiving.
And I tell you, Mark, we're going to look at Jordy Nelson make some plays, but just talking to these kids yesterday again, you realize how great college football is because it brings people together that would never probably be together. You take Jordy Nelson, 60 kids in the senior class, comes from living on a farm. Then you have Dion Murphy on the other side, 87, from Houston, Texas, an entirely different background. Here they come together in Manhattan, Kansas, a former football team.
Collegiate athletics serves as a great melting pot of cultures. That pass with an incomplete, no flag on the play, and well defended by Brown. Chappelle Brown broke that one up. The 5'11 sophomore makes it 4th down and 8 now to go for Kansas State. The fans here yearning for a flag to be thrown and a call, but none coming. So in comes Brooks Rossman. He's already made 3 field goals tonight from 20, 36, and 1 from 52, a career long. This one coming from 39 yards out. And Rossman knocks that one just inside that left upright. He is on the money tonight, 4 for 4. And Kansas State increasing its lead back to 13 points with 2:11 to go now in the third quarter of play. Well, Coach Prince always inspires thought in his players, Stacey Dales. You have more on that.
Absolutely, Mark. Well, in this game alone, Jordy Nelson a little limited in his action, but we've already seen Dion Murphy, James Johnson, Leon Patton. There's a whole list of guys that have touched the ball. And when he said yesterday that when he got to Kansas State, he felt like there were still a few guys that were individualistic. They had a focus for themselves, and he really wanted to change the culture. So he's a big reader, as we know, guys. Reads a different book every single week. He read the book Power of One, and he decided en route to have coffee with his parents that this is going to be our identity. They spent some time at Fort Riley with the infantry there and really developed a culture here that is all about one program, not one person, because you know they can't bring that in here to Kansas State. It's not about one guy, it's about one program, and that's what he started here with these Wildcats, Mark.
Yeah, he certainly has, and he's also extended that philosophy to one voice. Ron Prince, the guy out front in the community and doing good things here in Manhattan, Kansas. Former offensive coordinator in Virginia. 2:10 to go. It's Wheatley on the kickoff return. Nowhere to go. They have really developed a great relationship with the soldiers nearby. Actually, in January, players on the Wildcats team trained side by side with the Black Lion soldiers from the 1st Battalion based at nearby Fort Riley, Kansas. Coach Ron Prince wanted his players to experience the sense of unity and determination required of our nation's military. That Black Lions unit was actually deployed to Iraq on February the 9th. Soon after they went through a training session, the players talked about the wonderful benefits of being able to work side by side with some of the soldiers. Bob, carrying each other on their backs some a significant amount of miles, 50-pound bags, and just the spirit, the military spirit, really made a profound effect on those players.
Yeah, Mark, I mean, that's for real right there. I mean, you can talk about all the off-season conditioning you want. You go out to Fort Riley, that's for real. And you know the thing I think it's really important when you recruit a lot of junior college players, that you really do get the power of one and get everybody on the same page, because junior college players inherently are a little bit selfish. They only have 2 years to play. So they want to know what's in it for me, because they only have 2 years of eligibility left. So I think particularly with junior college players being such an integral part of your team, it's imperative that you get everybody together like that.
Yeah, 5 different junior college players, Bob, starting tonight for Kansas State. Hawkins looking to counter for the Buffaloes. Pass complete, but nowhere to go, and a quick close to make the tackle made by Chris Carney on Scotty McKnight, the walk-on.
Yeah, good job by Chris Carney. Had 2 interceptions marked last week against Kansas, one of them on the first play of the game. And what a big game for him, a young guy from Mullen High School in Denver. So Chris Carney, a big night for him now playing against the Buffaloes.
That's the same guy that Coach Prince was getting into a few moments ago on the sideline. So made a couple of big plays against Kansas last week. Had 2 interceptions, a key one in the 4th quarter, too. 3rd down and long for the Buffaloes. Not the kind of position you want to be in. Ellis, the lone back. Hawkins comes up slinging and incomplete over the middle at the 32-yard line for McKnight. Chris Carney there to make the play defensively for the Wildcats. 4th down coming up for Colorado.
And Mark, you're right. You talk about Chris Carney. I mean, you're going to throw that deep square in route. I mean, that free safety is going to show. And that time, Chris Carney broke on that football. And again, great field position upcoming for Kansas State. And a returner back there, Deion Murphy's on fire right now in this football game.
I wonder if they, at some point, Bob, don't think about kicking it away from him.
You might right here, Mark.
Oh, they dropped the snap, and it's blocked. It's snuffed out. A chance for the touchdown. Wildcats got it. Opportunity knocking.
Mark, Daniel Gonzalez, the wide receiver, after the muffed snap, blocked the punt.
And Courtney Herndon pounced on the loose ball.
Well, you talk about that Virginia Tech blueprint. Colorado obviously helped them right there with Delalo dropping the snap, but another special teams touchdown for Kansas State.
And that is a huge blow for Colorado and a great opportunity for Kansas State, increasing its lead now to 20 points with 28 seconds to go in the 3rd quarter. And they continue to count the non-offensive touchdowns. Put one more on the meter for Kansas State.
Well, Mark, that's 11 special teams touchdowns in 2 seasons under Ron Prince. And interestingly, Kansas State 36-9 since 1990 when scoring on special teams.
Delalo just seemed to fumble the snap here. It hit him right in the hands.
You know, Mark, I think right there, just looking at him, he was thinking about angling that ball. He was cocked a little bit to kick that ball away. And I think maybe sometimes too many things, kind of like when you're standing on that tee box ready to hit that golf ball, you get too many things going through your mind at one time.
Thinking about maybe Deion Murphy too much. I forgot the plan A to catch the ball first. Kansas State 36-9 when scoring on special teams, which they just did moments ago.
Who's that little guy down there?
They do have some recruits in, right?
Sidelines. Yeah, they start early now. Prince recruiting these guys out here.
Ron Prince starting to build something special, and never easy when you follow a legend like Bill Snyder, who we saw in the booth a little bit earlier tonight. Former head coach here at Kansas State. Oh, look at the return. Oh, what a hit. They are bringing a lot of knock. Hulick, John, that's who.
I mean, John Hulick, number 39, Mark, out of Wichita, Kansas. Woo, man. He hurt himself as much as he hurt that returner, but that was a lick, and he's got the whole name on that back, man.
Well, Coach Snyder said he was here a little bit earlier tonight. Certainly proud of what he's watching on this field and stadium named after him, Bill Snyder Family Stadium. Head coach here at Kansas State, who really, Bob, started the big turnaround here at Kansas State, and Coach Prince now trying to build on that and, you know, putting his own imprint on the program, but at the same time keeping some of the wonderful philosophies that Coach Snyder had going and working for him here.
Well, you know, when you get off I-70 and take that 9 miles into Manhattan, it's Bill Snyder Highway.
Yeah.
That's a pretty daunting task if you're Ron Prince now.
No doubt. A look at his career numbers, 11 consecutive bowl berths, Won the Big 12 championship in 2003, the 98 Coach of the Year. Think about some of the good teams that he's had. I can remember seeing a lot of success here back in the Chad May days, and they turned out a lot of good DBs back here. And think about a guy, Frank Murphy, not Deion Murphy, but Frank Murphy, who they had.
Well,
the Lockets.
I'll tell you what you think about is that staff that Bill Snyder put together. I mean, we have a list of all those guys that are head coaches that coached for Bill Snyder at Kansas State. You talk about Bobby Stoops and Jim Levitt, Dan McCarney, I believe. All those guys have passed through Manhattan, Kansas. Brett Bielema, Phil Bennett, Mike Stoops, Mark Mangino.
Yeah, he's doing a nice job at Kansas. Kansas at 6-0, 3-0 in Big 12 North play. And Colorado was hoping to keep pace with them with a win tonight. With a lot of work to do. Hawkins incomplete at the 48-yard line, intended for DeVray. With 18 seconds to go now in the third quarter of play, down 20 points.
More good pressure from Ian Campbell, 98. One of the few times we've called Ian's name out tonight. But now it's time to rush the passer if you're Kansas State.
Looking to dial up a little bit of the heat on Cody Hawkins on 2nd down and 10 coming up. Is this the time, Bob, where does Colorado have to abandon its running game that's been so successful?
Well, Mark, you're going to have to throw to win, but I think you throw some screens, get Charles his hands on the ball. You know, he's caught 14 passes, I think, this year.
This is Lockett on the toss sweep. Nowhere to go, and brought down at the 28-yard line. Ian Campbell leading the charge, along with Rob Jackson. This guy is a monument to intensity. And that's going to be the end of the third quarter play. Kansas State with the power of one. And right now, unified, solidified, and ready to roll when we come back for the fourth period in Manhattan. For the start of the fourth quarter in Manhattan, Kansas at Bill Snyder Family Stadium. The Wildcats leading the Buffaloes 40-20. 3rd and long coming up for Colorado, where they are 1 of 9 on 3rd downs tonight. College football primetime presented by GoDaddy.com. Here's Hawkins. Up top into traffic, almost intercepted and incomplete. Man, Justin McKinney almost had himself his 2nd pick of the night.
And Mark, Rob Jackson, 95, right here, a great bull rush, just knocks Tyler Columbus back in the quarterback. Watch right here. Oh, just ran around him. I'm sorry. Just flat ran around him.
That's even worse, isn't it?
What happens when everybody knows you have to throw? That's tough to protect. That's a big lick on Cody Hawkins right there.
You don't want your quarterback coming off of his wallet that much. 5th punt of the night for Kalala.
Oh, that's what
Murphy. High risk, high reward. You know what, though? If you're a head coach and the guy has that kind of speed, you can almost live with it. 41 yards on the punt, nothing on the return.
You have to give Gardner McKay a lot of credit there for staying after it for Colorado. That was a great effort by McKay, Mark, just staying alive and getting him on the ground.
Up by 20 points.
You have the feeling, I mean, obviously Kansas State will run the football and take time, but Jordy Nelson going downtown one time off a play action right here, Mark. Just put the dagger in him.
That might be the knockout blow. He hit him for a long one, 68 yards last year in the game against Colorado. This time they actually run it to Johnson. Cuts back and got about 3 yards on the play. Brought down by Brandon Nicholas. Already in the Big 12 today, Missouri lost against Oklahoma.
You're right. You know, and that's right. The Big 12 North is wide open. You have to give Kansas State a lot of credit, Mark, for playing a pretty difficult non-conference schedule. You know, they go to Auburn right off the bat. You know, for years, Kansas State was teased about such a weak non-conference schedule. Interestingly enough, Ron Prince wants to beef that non-conference schedule up a little bit.
Freeman throws it away out of bounds, and Now, Ron Prince has said that, we are going to run this program. It's a business. We are in the business of college football. He has a specific model that he has integrated that he wants to follow, and it's one that he feels will be ultimately very successful, taking advantage of the various assets that he has here in the community.
Yeah, and they're going to go play Miami, UCLA, and Oregon because he said two things. Number one, they need the exposure. Number two, it gets them ready for the Big 12 North race, which I think is a great point. We had the situation last week with Rutgers, for example. They played such a weak early schedule. And against Buffalo and Navy and Norfolk State.
And we saw what it got them when they played a Big East Conference opponent.
So Ron Prince, on the other hand, says, listen, we have to play the Big 12 schedule anyhow. Let's get ready to play it.
Meanwhile, an intentional grounding penalty against Kansas State. So it's like a 3rd down and 21. Colorado seemingly getting their personnel on the field a little bit late.
Timeout.
And this game has ground to a halt suddenly as the Wildcats call a timeout. Ron Prince, one of 6 African-American head coaches in the NCAA. And he has talked about some of the interesting variables involved in some of the African-American coaches being able to ascend to the height of head coach. Take a look at who we have as head coaches, as African-American head coaches in NCAA football. Darrell Sylvester Kroom at Mississippi State, now in his 4th season. Tyrone Willingham at Washington in his 3rd year. Turner Gill at Buffalo in his 2nd season, former member of the Nebraska Cornhuskers and quarterback, and Ron Prince in his 2nd season. And I thought it was interesting that Coach Prince and Randy Shannon at the University of Miami noted that the Rooney Rule in the NFL really has truncated the process and the progress at some point of African Americans being able to become head coaches in the college ranks, because the NFL opportunities are so bountiful and so lucrative. That pass incomplete, intended for Jordy Nelson.
Well, Mark, and to finish that point a little bit, I saw that firsthand when I was head coach at Notre Dame, that a lot of the young, really talented black assistants.
The emergency alert system has now been activated. Please tune to channel 5. Thank you.
The talented guys in college football went to the NFL. But now you kind of see some guys coming back to college football, and there's some really great coordinators out there. I'm talking about African-American coordinators that I think are going to have opportunities to be head coaches.
And what about Jacob Phillips down in Kentucky? The Wildcats, guy you used to work with, Bob. Wildcats getting a big win against LSU today. Hawkins team with a lot of work to do when we 13:45 to go in the 4th quarter. I'm Mark Jones along with Bob Davie, and Stacey Dale's down to the field. Colorado with the ball, but trailing by 20 points.
Mark, we talked a little bit about during the break there. Cody Hawkins, 10 for 25 in this football game. You may think about putting a backup in there and trying to get a spark a little bit, throwing the football.
Little bootleg action to DeVray. And DeVray brought down about 3 yards short of the 1st down. Well, if Coach Hawkins makes a move to his backup quarterback, that's the guy on the docket, Nick Nelson.
Yeah, but, Nick Nelson, only 1 completion all year. Then I look over, I see my man Nick yawning on the sidelines. I think I'm going to stay with Cody now in this football game. Yeah.
Is he playing possum, you think?
Hey, only 1 other completion all year from a quarterback at Colorado, and it was Nick. But now I see Nick yawning.
There you go.
Keep him on that bench, man.
Yeah, he took that Ambien a little bit earlier. Here's Hugh Charles adding to his career-high total on the ground tonight, brought down by Eric Childs. Got about 9 on that carry.
Nick didn't realize he was going to get all this airtime.
What about that, huh? That headset's a little good on him right now.
Keeping those ears warm.
Yep.
But you know what? Only 1 other completion. I mean, Cody Hawkins has completed every pass this season except 1 for the Colorado Buffaloes. So it's his show right now.
Cody Hawkins, a guy who, as a high schooler, going back to the 6th grade, 59-0 as a starter. And now 63-2 overall. That pass incomplete, intended for number 4, Patrick Williams. And Colorado offensively just arrhythmic right now. No real flow to what they're trying to do. 2nd down and 10 coming up.
And this is when your son is the quarterback and it's not going well. This is what Mark Richt was talking about at Georgia when he sent his son to be the quarterback at Clemson.
Lincoln said, hey, the best part about him being coached by me is showing him how to become a good man and football player. The worst part is putting a small barrier up when he has to. That pass incomplete and intercepted by Chris Carney. Had 2 last week and got another one here.
Chris Carney, the young guy from Denver Mullen High School, Mark, really broke on that football. I mean, that ball hung up in the air for a long time.
I would love to know what Ron Prince, the head coach of Kansas State, said to Carney on that one sequence on the sideline, because since that point, Carney has made some real significant plays. That's his 3rd pick of the season.
Mark, let's take a look at just how far Chris Carney broke on this football as it hung in the air. We'll take a look at that after this first offensive play.
They did a nice job on it. Freeman hands it off. That's Johnson. And Johnson is brought down by Brad Jones. One more look at that interception. And what caused it?
Let's just take a look when this ball is in the air right here. We go ahead and roll this thing. Right now the ball is thrown. You see Carney come off that hash and just make an excellent play on that football.
Well, that interception total for Hawkins now climbing. He has 11 on the season. Freeman hands it off.
Mark, I wonder how
Johnson brought down at the line of scrimmage.
I wonder how our guy Nick Nelson, the backup quarterback, is doing over there on that Colorado sideline. If he's getting warmed up right now, but things not going well. Yeah, he pulled the headset up a little bit, got him off the ears. That's a good sign, I guess, that he's starting to get cranked up a little bit.
The emotion certainly not written across his face yet.
But you know what? This Colorado football team, they are a run-first team. And Dan Hawkins has recruited some really good young wide receivers, Mark, in this program. They're just young, and Cody Hawkins is young.
Richard freshman.
Exactly. I mean, the experienced guy is you, Charles, but when you're down 40 to 20, you have to throw the football.
There's Johnson getting close to that 1st down marker, maybe coming up a little bit short. Got about 4. Well, the one thing about Colorado players, Bob, that they're going to like in the future is practicing in that brand new bubble that they just opened up on campus.
That is big now. And you know what? Colorado had to make a move facility-wise. That's one thing in the Big 12 and around the country. People have made major commitments to facilities, and to be honest, Colorado's been behind. It's that simple.
Well, they went through a turbulent period at the end of Gary Barnett's tenure, and Coach Hawkins now trying to right the ship and get this team back into the big picture in the Big 12 North. A flag thrown on the punt. Wheatley brought down immediately after catching the ball. A 44-yard punt. And Stephon Robinson actually caught the punt and was hit immediately.
Yeah, Marcus is probably a block in the back right here by Colorado, which continues to hurt field position here.
If you're a Kansas State fan, you got to feel good, Bob, about the fact that after a very emotional game last week against Kansas.
Illegal block in the back against the receiving team, number 6. It's a 10-yard penalty from the end of the run. 1st down.
After an emotional game against Kansas last week, Kansas State got themselves right. They didn't let Kansas beat them twice.
There you go, Mark.
Not yet, anyway. Back with more after this.
ESPN's College Football Primetime is presented by GoDaddy.com, world's #1 .com provider. Make a .com name with us. And in part by Mitsubishi Motors, driven to thrill.
Well, opened in 1898, the 6 square blocks. Kansas State's Aggieville is located in Manhattan, Kansas, with a diverse array of shops catering to the students, as well as Friday night entertainment from the K-State band striking it up right there.
You know, this is a great scene. This is the first time I've been to Manhattan, Kansas, and the Kansas State game. I mean, this is really a neat scene.
Team that went 8-5 last year. Pardon me, 7-5 in the regular season, playing against Rutgers in their bowl game.
Yeah, I'll tell you one thing. When you come into this town, there's no question what these school colors are. I mean, it is purple from the time you walk in here now.
A crowd of close to 50,000 on hand tonight at Bill Snyder Family Stadium. Watching the home team take apart Colorado so far, 40-20, with 10:04 to go in the fourth quarter. Mark Jones along with Bob Davie and Stacey Dales down in the field. A win would improve Kansas State to 2-1 in conference play. Hawkins on the move. Cody Hawkins thread the needle that time, complete at the 45-yard line to Patrick Williams. He had a little juice on that one.
You know who he reminds you of a little bit, talking about Cody, is Jim McMahon.
Okay.
Just watch him scrambling to his left, holding that football loose, then throwing back across his body. Tell me that you put a visor on him.
Yeah.
That reminds me of Jim McMahon right there. You feeling that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He'll scramble and make some plays for you, like he did that time. It has been a struggle, though, for him for most of the night. 13 of 30 with 9.5 to go. Play fake, looking to go up top. Has a man wide open at the 30. It's complete to McKnight, and McKnight pushed out of bounds at the 15-yard line. First down for the Buffaloes.
This is really a good play call, Mark. They put McKnight in the slot. He's going to run a little wheel route down the sidelines. The outside receiver is going to clear. It's kind of the second man through the zone right here. Watch Scotty McKnight at the top. The corner goes ahead and bites inside. So in essence, you have two guys covering one, and Scotty McKnight comes off on the wheel route.
A 40-yard pickup. That's the longest gain of the night through the air for Colorado.
You see the ability, though, Mark, that Cody Hawkins has. I mean, he's a talented guy, not the biggest guy now.
Generously listed at about 6 foot. And this time sacked back at the 20-yard line by Justin Rowland. A loss of about 5 on the play. That's K-State's 19th sack of the season.
Yeah, Mark, Justin Rowland just comes on the blitz and runs right over the guard right here. A little bit of a bust in protection, but that's unfortunate right there. I mean, that wasn't some kind of exotic blitz. I'll tell you, guy, number 95, Rob Jackson, all night tonight, Mark, from his defensive end position. I mean, he's been getting up that football. See him right here, that defensive end lined up.
Good speed on the K-State side of the ball defensively. Hawkins goes into the end zone, tipped up and out of bounds. Intended for Dusty Sprague. A tall target at 6'4". Hawkins put it up there for him, but he couldn't come down with it.
Well, Dusty Sprague's played a lot of football in Colorado. 5th-year senior. 4 catches last week against Baylor for 95 yards.
He looks like he's shaken up a little bit. Look at what's happened by half on 3rd down. 1 of 6 in the first half. 0 for 4. They have yet to convert in the second half on 3rd down tonight. They need 15. Hawkins got hit and sacked, and they fumble it. Moses Manu made the hit on the play. And Colorado, luckily for them, recovering it.
Mark Ryan.
4th down.
Excuse me, Mark. Ryan Miller, 73, the true freshman offensive tackle at the top. Moses Manu just runs around Ryan Miller, one of the most highly recruited guys. Came down to Notre Dame or Colorado, gets the start here tonight as a freshman.
Tough when you try and earn those stripes as a true freshman. I want to keep that quarterback upright, too. Back after this. Fourth down and long coming up for Cody Hawkins and the Colorado offense. Down by 20 points with 8:14 to go in the fourth quarter. And Colorado's 3-game winning streak in serious trouble right now. They have yet to convert on 4th down tonight. They've tried twice. Hawkins stepping up. Flings it into the end zone. Did he get his feet down? out of bounds and incomplete, intended for Smith.
Boy, really good effort. Cody Hawkins keeps it alive by stepping up in the pocket, Mark. Yeah, good call. See that, both feet actually, the left heel and the right foot.
Nice effort though by Josh Smith, the freshman. So Kansas State will take over on downs, leading 40-20. You know, Kansas State recently, from a news standpoint, receiving a letter of inquiry from the NCAA, the ongoing investigation involving 2 current players, 3 former players, and a former university employee who served as a tutor. Now at issue in the investigation, an academic misconduct issue as well as some extra benefits may be on the run. Johnson on the loose, and Pollard refusing to go down, unremitting, and an unrelenting Johnson. You talk about determination.
Mark, at some point, I mean, this is a great effort from James Johnson, but this shows you how when a team is down 40-20, you kind of cave in a little bit, and definitely the emotion and enthusiasm and effort on the side of James Johnson. But what a great run that was.
Sure was. Picked up 40 yards in all. And back to the investigation at Kansas State at issue, academic misconduct and potential extra benefits. Current coach Ron Prince not involved in this investigation, and Tim Weiser, the athletic director at Kansas State, feels the issues will not result in the forfeiture of any games. Under 8 minutes to go. Johnson this time stopped up after a gain of about 3 yards.
Mark, and I believe that investigation involves a situation with a tutor.
A university employee. Yep.
You know what happens, you are involved if you are the head coach, regardless if you are or not, because it's your program and you are responsible for everything that happens. But realistically, you cannot monitor everything that happens, because I'm sure that tutor understood the rules, was explained the rules. Things happen.
At what point do you make other people accountable for their own actions?
That's the bottom.
Everything always have to go back on the head coach. Patton with the carry, got about 2 as we go to Stacy for more.
Now, Mark and Bob, I talked to athletic director Tim Weiser just before the game started today, and I talked to him about the situation, and he said it's really an odd situation because it's the first time it ever involves somebody outside of our athletic department within the university. It's a university employee, and she did intentionally, he said, violate academic misconduct, extra benefits. There were some romantic elements involved, guys, and he has spent a lot of time with the NCAA. It's been a long-going investigation, and they really think it's about 3 to 4 months away from finalizing. He's confident in that, and it's an unfortunate situation, but they're confident that it will get resolved, Mark.
All right, Stacy. And back to the field. Patton this time got about 3 yards.
You know, the uncertainty, anytime you have an investigation going on, there's some uncertainty as far as the coaches and the players concerned, because the reality is you never know what potentially could be uncovered. I'm not saying specifically in Kansas State's situation, but anytime a thorough investigation takes place, you always concern yourself with what else could be out there that no one knows about right now.
Brooks Rossman attempting another field goal, this one from 46, and this is his first miss of the night. He's made from 20, 36, 52, and 39. But all is still good here in Manhattan, Kansas, especially with Uncle Rico's barbecue going on outside the stadium. Back after this. This is just part of the Stacey Dales Traveling Roadshow. This is what it looks like from week to week. This is what Bob and I deal with from week to week, stadium to stadium.
That's my new boyfriend, guys. It's just part of my life, you know. I gotta keep up with you, Mark Jones.
Oh boy, yeah, Bob, it's good when we can send Stacy out on those reconnaissance missions to kind of stick the toe in the collective waters out there to feel the pulse of the people out there.
I know one thing, when we try to slow traffic down so we can get out, we always send Stacy out there to slow that traffic down.
I'm here for you guys, and you guys alone.
Everyone happy tonight. The home crew leading 40-20 with 5:44 to go. Second down and 10 coming up for the Buffaloes. Lots of good things happening on campus last night. Big basketball night. Hint, hint. Hawkins back to pass under heat. And brought down, and a flag thrown right where he's sacked. Boy, Hawkins never really had a chance on that play.
Yeah, Rob Jackson, number 95, Mark, all night long has been a guy that's provided great pressure for this Kansas State defense.
Personal foul, face mask, the defense, number 96. It's a 15-yard penalty from the previous spot, automatic first down.
And against Moses Manu, but yeah, there's the perpetrator on the play. But you mentioned Jackson, number 95. He's been beating that offensive line like they stole something, Bob. I mean, he has been all over them.
Well, I tell you, they're a team that has great quickness on defense. The vulnerability for Kansas State is still the rush defense when people line up and run right at them. But when it comes to rushing the passer, Mark, they've got some speed up front.
Hawkins completing this pass. Just shy, right around the 45-yard line. Talked about big night on campus last night. Midnight Madness here in Manhattan. Debut of freshman forward Michael Beasley, the #1 prospect from the class of 2007. There's the big lefty. That's some mad boosties, as the kids like to say. Kansas State finished 4th in the Big 12 last season. Hope to make their mark this season under their first-year head coach Frank Martin, former assistant coach for Bob Huggins. Know that Frank's going to do a great job. A fellow Miami, Florida native like yours truly.
Yeah, and Bob Huggins back to West Virginia.
Yep.
It's where he played his dream job. That'll be fun to watch. I mean, a vast difference in styles now with Bob Huggins compared to what West Virginia did the last several years under Beeline. Style of offense, style of defense, completely different. Beeline, a 1-3-1 zone guy. You wanted to come down and shoot the threes all the time. Huggins, a guy that wants to.
You know, if you keep this up, you'll be coming up to our basketball seminars. Yeah. And good things happening with the basketball team and football team here at Kansas State. Set to undergo a $45 million renovation and facilities project for both the basketball and football teams. We'll be starting up this spring. That pass incomplete, intended for Josh Smith. 4th down and 5 coming up, and Coach Prince still working it.
You know, he made a good point yesterday as well when he talked about at Kansas State, talked about no star power. You know, they're not going to out-star them and out-recruit people they play necessarily. They have to simply play better as a team. He talks about the program being bigger than any one individual. And I mean, that really is true. That's the way you have to win at Kansas State, because you're going to get some big-time people in recruiting now.
And I was impressed merely by the fact that he has the time to read the New York Times. That pass complete across midfield. And we go back to Stan Verrett for a SportsCenter in-game update.
All right, Mark, Washington and Arizona State. Arizona State trying to remain perfect on the season on a day that saw several other undefeated teams lose. But Dimitri Nance, like not our squad, taking it 57 yards for the touchdown. 17 unanswered for the Sun Devils to take control of this game, and they lead the Huskies by 10.
Ooh, I've got the whole family at that one now.
And this pass intercepted. Another one, the 3rd of the night for Kansas State. Brian Baldwin picking off Hawkins this time. And that's going to do it.
It's obvious right now Cody Hawkins not ready to just take this team and win a game by just throwing the football down after down.
The 3rd interception of the night. And Kansas State on the cusp of improving to 2-1 in conference play.
And Colorado, Mark, gets Kansas coming into Boulder next week, so it's not going to get any easier. The Kansas football team is an impressive team.
They beat Kansas State right here last week. Carson Kaufman in the ball game now at quarterback for Josh Freeman.
And Kaufman's brother is the tight end at Missouri, one of those big tight ends.
false start on the offense, number 73. 5-yard penalty, still first down.
Look at what the respective quarterbacks have done tonight. Freeman 15 of 27, 214 yards. And Hawkins 17 of 39. Man, he was really forced to pitch it when they got behind.
There's that stat right at the bottom, though, the 3 interceptions. And Josh Freeman, 0 interceptions, and that's been his MO a little bit, Marcus, turning the football over.
Didn't hurt his team tonight on offense. With 4:10 to go. Well, this guy Johnson is ready to roll. The power of 1. This time it's the power of 8. Number 8. Touchdown. Wildcats.
Kansas State is an explosive football team, Mark, and you see James Johnson run through the tackle right there of Jordan Dizon. Then makes the strong safety miss right here in the open field. Ryan Walters, number 15. But you see the will of Colorado wilting, starting to miss tackles. They did on the previous drive as well, but great effort by James Johnson.
Yeah. Ron Prince preaching the power of 1, and James Johnson did it himself that time with help from 10 of his friends on offense. A career-long 68-yard scamper into the end zone for Kansas State.
And you look at Dion Murphy, 87, James Johnson, number 8, Jordy Nelson, 27. Mark, this is an explosive offensive football team. Kansas State has a lot of speed at the skill positions. If their offensive line can develop, they have a chance late in this season to be a really good offensive football team.
I'll tell you what I'm going to do, Bob. I'm going to go out and read and purchase the 2 books that Coach Prince told me that he read most recently. He talked about him reading the New York Times. I just read the salacious, scandalous newspapers. I don't read the smart stuff. But the 2 books that he read most recently were, 1, The 5 Dysfunctions of Team, and the second one sounds interesting. I think he said it was Freakonomics. So he will hand out a bunch of books to not only his players, but his coaching staff, and trying to enlighten everybody and broaden their horizons. Whatever works, it's worked tonight, certainly for Kansas State.
Well, he's an interesting guy. I mean, there's no question. I mean, both these coaches, I mean, you want to have a great debate. Put these 2 guys together and let them go at it. That'd be good television right there, watching these 2 guys.
Brought down to the 30-yard line is Ellis. Let's go back to Stan in the studio.
All right, Mark, LSU and Kentucky, in case you missed it, LSU, the #1 team in the country, down 6 in the 3rd overtime, 4th and 2. They don't get it, so the #1 team goes down. Cal also lost, so Bob Davey, Mark May says South Florida should be #1. Robert Smith, Lee Corso, Kirk Herbstreit, all like Ohio State. Who do you like as the #1 team in the country, Bob?
Yeah, I like Ohio State, Stan, because I've watched them in person, and I actually think they're a better football team overall than they were a year ago. I mean, their defense is outstanding. So I think right now it's Ohio State, the #1 team in the country.
Incredible. A team that was picked by a lot of the predictors and experts to finish 3rd in the Big Ten Conference. A quote-unquote rebuilding year for the Buckeyes. That pass is going to be ruled complete at the 36-yard line. Let's take a look at what the top 10 did today. LSU losing, Cal losing, Ohio State clobbering Kent State. Boston College, hey, don't sleep on Matt Ryan and his people.
Exactly. I mean, I love Matt Ryan. And how about Oklahoma now, who lost to this Colorado football team? Still as talented a team as there is in the country.
And quietly, the old ball coach, Steve Spurrier's team, continuing to creep up in the top 10. The BCS standings come out on Monday, actually on Sunday.
Really an incredible year, though. I know that's repetitive, but it's unbelievable, Mark. And it's like every week, you don't even flinch now when you hear about these upsets. I mean, 2 of them went down today, LSU in California. I mean, it's unbelievable. And the Cincinnati Bearcats go down to Louisville.
That's what makes college football so unique, and just the week-to-week urgency. A high snap. Hawkins couldn't corral it. It's loose. Still loose, and Kansas State is going to get a free one. 1st and 10 from the Colorado 17. Ian Campbell. Appropriate that one of the most hustling players on the team gets that loose ball.
Yeah, Mark, Daniel Sanders, the center, obviously a bad snap. Cody kind of tried to block Ian Campbell instead of going right after that football right there. But now you start worrying about next week if you're Colorado. You don't want this game to just bottom out and end on such a totally negative note as it's finishing right now for the Buffaloes. I mean, they're melting down right now.
Yeah, that's a good point, Bob. And I'll tell you, in a wrestling match for a loose ball between Campbell right there and Hawkins, I'm going to go with Campbell every time. 2:53 to go. And Carson Kaufman, for his second offensive series at quarterback, hands it off to Patton. And Patton got about 3. Well, Cody Hawkins has had a pretty rough night. Getting hit many times, ending up on his back, looking up at the sky. 3 sacks tonight for Kansas State defensively. And the most recent miscue, the high snap. Well, he's had 3 interceptions, too.
And the bottom line, when Colorado had to throw the football, Cody Hawkins and this offensive team with 2 true freshmen starting on the offensive line, Mark, they're not capable right now of just going out and throwing the football to win. They have to run it. And when they lost that balance because of the score, they can't get it done.
Well, they're going to fall to 2-1 in conference play.
On the offense, number
Kansas
78.
State going to improve to
5-yard penalty.
2-1.
Still second down.
You know, you take Dan Hawkins. What Dan Hawkins is doing right now, Mark, he's thinking about, what am I going to talk to this football team about? That's all he's thinking right now. What am I going to say to this team after this football game to get ready for next week? He knows this one's over. Now, how do I get this football team ready for Kansas? You can see it on his face right there. He's grinding it right now, trying to put a positive spin on this.
What would you say to this team if you were the coach of Colorado?
I think you talk about the things we did well and what we have to do to win, and that is we have to be mistake-free because the margin of error is very small for this team. They are not talented enough right now to make mistakes and self-destruct. I don't think they're talented enough to go for it on 4th down like they did several times. They need to punt the football, play field position, because they're not capable right now of making big plays on either side of the ball. I think a more conservative route for this football team than what they played tonight.
Hawkins has very optimistic, high hopes for his program in his 2nd year right now. And last season at 2-10 was his first losing season in 11 seasons as a collegiate head coach. But he harkens back to tougher times that he has been through. He was 1-9 one season in junior college and thought about actually quitting coaching altogether. Wrote down a list of things that went wrong, and when he reflected back on that list an hour or 2 later, said it wasn't as discouraging as he thought it was. He kept on keeping on, and Coach Hawkins will take his team back to Boulder, Colorado at 4-3 and regroup for a huge game next week against Kansas. And well, Cody, his son, and his quarterback still very much emotionally invested in what's going on the field, which is a good sign.
Well, Mark, you go back to Dan Hawkins. It's not what you say that's necessarily the most important thing. It's what you do. How do you correct the mistakes? And how do you have young guys develop between this week and next week? So all that talk in the locker room, that talk doesn't mean much. It's what you do next week in practice to get better.
At Bill Snyder Family Stadium, the successor, Ron Prince, has his team defeat Colorado 47-20. Prince also in his 2nd year. And Kansas State bouncing back after a tough loss at home here last week against Kansas. Josh Freeman was, for the most part, mistake-free, and Stacey Dales has the winning head coach, Ron Prince.
Coach Prince, some would suggest that you're a pass-first offense. What message did your run game send tonight?
Well, we knew we had to become a much more balanced running team, and running is part of that. We didn't think that we saw anything as far as a weakness in Colorado. It's just something that we need to improve on. And I thought our kids responded to that. And so the more balanced any offense is, the better chance you have to win.
10 interceptions in the last 3 games for you guys. Why the success in the secondary?
Probably because we're not sacking the guy enough. No, we really want to hit the quarterback, get to the quarterback, get more sacks. We've really been stifled in that way. Here at the end, we got what we wanted. But, you know, Chris Carney's a really good player. So is Marcus Watts. And our coaches are putting him in a good position.
Coach, I just shook your hand and I said that was an impressive performance. And you said not really. Why did you say that to me?
Well, if you want to be really good, you got to play really good defense. And we gave up too many rushing yards today. And we're going to face a lot of really good competition. And people are scoring a lot of points, putting up a lot of yards. I'm really happy to win. I don't want anybody to misunderstand that. But we got so much improvement to do, and it's week to week.
Congratulations, Coach. Mark.
Coach Prince has a plan, along a corporate plan, a business plan. And a good business plan always anticipates what's ahead. 47-20 the final score. We'll be back to wrap things up from Manhattan, Kansas right after this. And welcome back, everyone, to Manhattan, Kansas. The Kansas State Wildcats leading and winning 47-20 against Colorado. So they improved to 4-2 overall and 2-1 in conference play, as the Wildcats really symbolizing and embracing the power of one, leaving the field as a cohesive, galvanized unit, influenced by their friends in the military just across the way. Mark Jones along with Bob Davie. And Bob, Kansas State showing a lot of moxie and temerity, able to bounce back from a disappointing loss last week. And we heard the coach's comments, Coach Prince, a few moments ago, that they showed a much more fortified running game.
Exactly, particularly late in the game. I mean, James Johnson broke off some great runs. An impressive performance tonight from Kansas State. This was a much closer game, I think, than what the final score indicated. Colorado had success running the football. You heard Ron Prince talk about that after the game. That's his #1 concern. But once Kansas State got ahead and Colorado had to throw the football, then it was all over. But just a great night for James Johnson, who, Mark, in some ways is a little more of a wide receiver body type and style of player than he is a running back. But a couple huge runs in this football game.
Yeah, certainly did. Bob broke a couple of open, had a career-high 159 yards, 2 touchdowns on 20 rushes, and really gives and adds now a different element, a different look, varying this offense a little bit as you look at the numbers that he put up on the evening. That, and you put that along with Josh Freeman, kind of mistake-free throwing the football. And
exactly.
It's a good formula.
You're right. And Kansas State comes in. I mean, they're 99th in the country in rush offense. But they have Deion Murphy. They have Jordy Nelson at wide receiver, Josh Freeman. You know they can throw the football. The question was, could they run it? Now, with that said, they ran the ball late in the game when I thought Colorado gave in a little bit. But, I mean, this is a huge win now coming off the Kansas loss at home last week.
Well, I tell you, Bob, there's some people down Interstate 70 just across the way over here in Lawrence, Kansas, feeling pretty good about what happened here, because this means that Kansas undefeated in conference play right now. Kansas State and Colorado and Missouri all with 1 loss. And Nebraska, boy, a hit on the chin again today, giving up a lot of points at 1-2. Iowa State at 0-3. So